drives trust, and it shows that he trusts them. He doesn't need to have big reactions to wins and losses, and I think the players, you can see many are stepping up from that, and particularly Mitch Georgiades, you can see he's had an off-field leadership role as well, but just the way he carries himself, I was fortunate enough to spend a few years around him and just keep watching him grow up, and his performance is matching that.
And this week, Jack Whitlock's, the rising star, and without even being prompted, he talked about the impact that Mitch Georgiades is having off him. He's learning from him every day. In the main session, he's taking some time out to work on him with his footwork. We see how well he jumps at the footy, and if he can create even more space on the lead, and he's just teaching all those things. And he's still not, an old player, Mitch Georgiades. He brought up his 100th game, I know, last week. But for him to be leaning into all that leadership things and qualities, he's just growing in front of us.
Well, I think the other thing, dynamic that you add into the equation of senior coaching, obviously he's dealing with the on-field stuff and losses and dealing with the media, but the role of a senior coach now is dealing with all the external crap that they have to put up with. And you ask Richo, it might have been you, Lauren, around the Chad Corns and Ken Hinkley, who have been in the inner sanctum previously. Sorry, it was Aaron, but that's the other thing you have to deal with, and that's got to grate on you. But hats off to them and credit to these senior coaches that maintain composure and are just able to bat that away. But deep down, that must be really irritating for a senior coach.
Totally. And you saw his little clapback of Chad a few weeks ago in regard to Mitch Georgiades' future. So, he's riding that. And Port Adelaide just enter the field of play now, Aaron, and they'll be entering with a lot of confidence.
Members round for them as well, one of their sponsors, but they've got a fair few punters out there in the Guard of Honour as they make their way out onto the Adelaide Oval. Fresh off that 1-point showdown loss 7 days ago, sitting at 3-5, and now get a chance against a vulnerable Western Bulldogs who are missing a lot of their stars tonight here at the Adelaide Oval. Crowd is building a little bit, lower tiers starting to fill out the hills, got a fair few patches, but isn't looking as diabolical as it was 15 minutes ago. Loz, Aaron Bryans, Tom Wilson, Josh Franco, Lauren Arnell with you for the call tonight. I did find it telling a few weeks ago after the Geelong win that Josh Carr said we're not going to ride the emotion of it. I don't know if that was a little bit of a barb about the Ken Hinkley stuff in the years prior, but just a different mindset and mentality for Josh Carr, who's certainly trying to reshape the way this group approaches its wins and losses.
Having said that, with 14 seconds to go last week, he was emotional. He just about did his shoulder cheering, and then gee whiz, it turned, didn't it?
And those double ups as well. So Adelaide a 1-point loss. Sydney, they haven't played yet, but they've got 2 against the Swans. St Kilda, 14-point loss. The Eagles, they lost by 2. North Melbourne was the 46, and they beat the Bombers by 63. So really, they're double ups. They've been very competitive in most of them, but the Roos. The season's well and truly open. The fixture was easy to start. It's been tricky in the middle, and they've almost navigated a fair bit of it. They get towards the back end, and you never know. You get Connor Rosie back for the round 16 showdown. Sava Radicali's in the 2s this week, and might be playing as soon as next week, and all of a sudden, who knows what the ceiling could be for Port Adelaide.
Oh, and you also mentioned Jack Watkins coming in tonight, which I think it's really unlucky for Todd Marshall. I think he hasn't done a heap wrong. I love the way he sets up their offence, but Watkins' craft inside stoppage, I think is well suited to playing against the Doggies. And then you think of another favourite of Josh's, who's Tommy Cochran. He's just coming right as well at the right time, and that'll force a fair bit of selection pressure on a pretty tidy group of small forwards that Port Adelaide have right now.
A couple of them, or say one of them in Corey Dern, the other's Mitch Georgiades, who is not a small forward, Loz, but there are 11 players in the competition right now who've kicked a goal in every single game, and Port have 2 of them, so it's pretty handy. Yeah. And Corey, I guess, showcasing that he was a pretty handy pickup, considering he keeps finding the scoreboard. Carlton, I'm sure, would need somebody like him right now, so he's been pretty handy at ground level for the Port Adelaide Footy Club, who are finding ways to score. And I don't want to get too bogged down in the stats, but the way this game is shaping up, I tipped Port Adelaide for a very specific reason. The Western Bulldogs coming out, they're 4-4 for the year after their 12-point loss to the Dockers. Also last Friday, as part of an overlap game, they were up by 26 in the third quarter and let it slip in the end, the Western Bulldogs. Fremantle getting the job done, and now the Dogs trying to at least get close to what they did the last time these two sides played, which was a 90-point blowout at Ballarat, where they got the job done. They've got to do it now at the Adelaide Oval against the Port Adelaide side, who's starting to hum. Those stats, so Port, they talk a lot about the premiership window at Fox Footy and kind of where the top 4 offensive and defensive sides sit. Port Adelaide is right in the defensive mix right now. So they are 4th for points against, 2nd for points against from turnover, best team in the league for defending from D50 to inside 50. And that is the Western Bulldogs game. They like to win it off half-back. They are so electric with their footy. And then they're so high scoring inside 50 when they've got Sam Darcy and Aaron Norton. And I feel like Port Adelaide have all the tools to blanket them tonight. And that's why I kind of went with the power laws.
Yeah, I also think Port Adelaide will win tonight. And I do think the quality of the midfield for the Doggies is there. They're missing a couple of soldiers. And Port Adelaide's midfield is as strong as any other going around. I think if you've got your best guys in there at any given time. But for me, Josh, the matchups that will hurt, and I alluded to this earlier, I think we saw Dante Visentesi play a lot more time forward last week and Jordan Sweet get more of that first ruck responsibility. But if you've got Georgiades, Jack Whitlock, who's really hitting his straps now after a few games of AFL, and Vicentini down there, and you're not really counting many minutes from Horn Francis, I just don't think the Bulldogs have the defenders to go with them if Port can get any sort of offence generated from stoppage especially.
Yeah, look, I tend to agree with you, Lauren, and interestingly enough as well, coaching against the Western Bulldogs when I've been in the AFL system, one of their big strengths is their ability to shift the ball by hands, particularly at the cold face and in the scramble. And sides know how they play, and it's easier said than done. But if Port Adelaide, hence potentially the inclusion of a Jack Watkins, that if they can apply enough pressure in that sort of layer 1, layer 2, then that'll give them first use of the footy. And I agree, if they can get enough inside 50s, I think they'll be too strong ahead of the ball.
And Watkins inside stoppage, I've seen him in a couple of pre-seasons now match up against, like, no one takes a back step against Zach Butters, and Zach Butters takes no back steps against anyone. But if there's someone that matches him when it's just pure stoppage craft inside, I think Watkins is a really smart in, and I think it will pay off for them tonight.
Absolutely.
It's a tricky one to tip, I think, for some people, but yeah, I feel like statistically, if you want to get bogged down in the numbers, that Port Adelaide might be able to get the job done tonight the way that they're playing. How does the Zach Butters match-up go in the midfield? Because the Dogs don't really tag.
Nah.
And Port Adelaide, I mean, can have Will and Drew at times, but don't either with Marcus Bontempelli. But you've got a luxury of superstars really out there. So Butters, Horn Francis, Bontempelli will be running through. Riley Sanders is getting a crack as well. It could be a free-for-all in terms of some big numbers tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you traditionally look at players to tag, and you talk about untaggable players, I think Bontempelli is potentially one of those. Just with his stature, his size, and his craft, as you talk about around the stoppage and around the fall of ball. But Zach Butters, even though he's not tall in stature, he's almost untaggable as well. He's one of those, I think, you rely on, the team defence and all the rest of it. If he starts to get off the chain, then maybe plan B or plan C is to go with him. But he's such a dynamic player, both inside the contest and outside the contest. And I think I've said here before, I almost equate him to a Bryce Cotton in the NBL. His ability to hit kicks and his ability to execute his fundamentals under pressure to the advantage of his teammates is as good as I've seen in the AFL. So yeah, he looms. He's one of those players that almost sort of marked down. He's going to get 30 touches and have a real impact on this game. And if you go with someone like him, but then you've got a Horn Francis who's been in terrific form as well. So again, when you talk about win-loss and how games are going to unfold, I always talk about that midfield battle, and two interesting midfields going up, quite dynamic in their own right, but will determine the outcome of this game.
And I'd be expecting Port Adelaide's conversation during the week at some point would have to be a reflection on last year's game at Ballarat, and that was a disaster for the Port Adelaide guys. Tim English had 3 goals won and had 27 touches. Bontempelli kicked 3 goals won, 23. Richards, who I think we probably haven't talked about enough in this pre-game, 30 touches, 2 goals himself, and Aaron Norton kicked 3 and took 7 marks and just took the whole side to the cleaners. That's got to be sitting somewhere front of mind for the Port Adelaide players while they're in form. I think there's a bit of a point to prove if they look just simply back to last year.
They just need a bit of a step up, don't they, the Bulldogs, for just that middle tier of players. Just watching them warm up with the midfield is Matt Kennedy, who's been such a great recruit for them. He's going to have to step up there. You've got Riley Sanders, a young player, and Joel Frazier, who looked like he was going to set the competition alight the way he played. I think he kicked 3 goals and had 18 touches in the first half against the Crows, but has been pretty quiet since then. So no doubt that Luke Beveridge and the assistant coaches have talked to the players to say, look, there's an amazing opportunity for you to dig this club out of a bit of a hole, a 4-game losing streak. And if they can do that, if they can get a win here tonight, they can be a part of it when they start their rise again. And both of you know, when you're playing well, it's hard to get out of the side. You keep your spot.
Yeah.
Coaches are going to be reluctant to change the team.
Quarter time at the Gabba, so the Lions lead by 14 points, 4-5-29 to 2-3-15. Goal scorers there, 2 to Morris and Hayward, singles to Charlie Cameron and Levi Ashcroft. So Blues are within an arm's reach at the moment of the Lions, even though it's on their home deck. You do wonder if Brisbane will do some more damage to Michael Voss and his men after what has been a pretty eventful season for the Navy Blues. News today as well, if you have just joined us, Alex Pearce out with an MCL for the Dockers after their win last night, so he will miss the Essendon game. Not sure how long term it will be. That's a bit of a TBC timeline, and the Hawks don't have Connor Nash for their matchup with the D's. Concussion for him. Tom Barras did a hamstring, and Jack Gunston's in a moon boot, so fingers crossed there's nothing too major there. Text line tonight, 0437 774 774. Had an early text in from an unnamed listener who said, is Lockie Jones a Sam Powell-Pepper type? Could they use him in the forward pocket rather than being across half-back?
I think they did do that a few years ago, didn't they, Josh? Lockie Jones was forward originally and then became a defender. I do think his value in the back half is too high in this Josh Carr team currently for him to go forward, especially when you've got Berry, Richards, Durden, Tommy Cochran on their heels. I think the depth of the type of player they need behind the ball, it simply means Jones has to play as a defender.
He absolutely does, particularly with Todd Marshall not playing tonight. They can't put him ahead of the ball because they'll be midgets down back.
I think his traits as well, like he's got genuine speed when he's fit and healthy, and he's so competitive.
I tell you, he's a bit of a maligned player though, isn't he? In terms of
cops it.
He cops a lot, doesn't he? But on his day, he's anything, and probably the gap between that and when he's off is probably quite big.
Isn't he Jasper Pittard 2.0?
Yeah,
that's what I feel like with him. Jasper had these amazing runs. He could take players on. He'd take these amazing kicks on, and 75% of the time they work. But it feels like the fans just remember the 25%. I feel Lockie's a bit like that, but I feel like this first 8 games of the season has probably been his most consistent patch of his career.
Yeah, and I think he does deserve credit for that. Probably his area for growth is going to be his hands, and that's where sometimes lets himself down. If there's a mark coming in over his head and you think he's swallowed it and he doesn't, and then there's some little ground ball fumbles where if you're inside D50 and you're fumbling an easy ground ball, you're in strife. So I love his traits, I love his competitiveness, and he's an absolute team player who's as honest as they come, and I think is a really important player for Port Adelaide this year.
I tell you, he's one of those players in the AFL I actually wouldn't like to stand, just in terms of getting a kick on someone like a Lockie Jones, even though he does make some mistakes in the game, as everyone does, but he'd be a difficult player to match up on.
Now, I think even that 2020 draft for a Lockie Jones, like there were a few years where it felt, especially with the soft tissue injuries, that maybe he wasn't going to live up to the potential. But in context of that draft, that was obviously the COVID year. And the way it's kind of played out in a lot of those first rounders, I don't think many of the clubs had an inkling on who was going to be the best prospect out of it. It was probably the first couple, and then it was a free-for-all. And we're starting to see a fair few of those players shine now. It's taken, 6 years essentially for them to start to hit their straps. And I wonder, you lose a year out of an academy system or being part of the state league comp was, and what that does to your development. And maybe now it's time for them all to shine.
And that is the challenge, particularly for Lockie. He is so quick, and so he's had quite a few hammies and those soft tissues that can hamper you and just make everything interrupted. So I'm enjoying watching him go about it this year.
0437 774 774, that text line if you have any more questions or comments to come. We had another listener who was quite surprised that Melbourne didn't get a game tonight. We've got the Gabba contest between Brisbane and Carlton, and obviously Port Adelaide and the Western Bulldogs tonight. So nice to get out of Victoria and showcase what the interstate locations have to offer. Port Adelaide and the Western Bulldogs tonight in round 9 action. We are closing in on the start of the game. No late changes. Vicky Schwartz is downstairs keeping an eye on the coin toss with Marcus Bontempelli and maybe his future teammate Zach Butters are attending out in the middle. Vicky, what is it like down there at ground level?
Well, I can tell you Zach Butters has won that toss and elected to kick to the right of your dial or the riverbank end. It's an absolutely picture-perfect night down here, Aaron. A magnificent night, not a breath of wind, no rain forecast. It's around 15 degrees. The surface is a treat as Never Tear Us Apart begins. I can tell you when the Port players ran out, it was lovely. There was a guard of honour of the players' mothers or their significant female role model, and the players gave them bunches of flowers ahead of course Mother's Day on Sunday, which was lovely. So heading to the bench for Port, Murray's, Ware, Evans, Sweet and Watkins, while for the Bulldogs it's Hines, Gallagher, Fraser, Bramble and Smith. 12th versus 13th on the ladder, but make no mistake, this is set to be a ripping game.
So Dante Vicentini gets first crack at being Tim English, who's starting to find some rhythm after that MCL injury, but we'll see how the 2v2 goes, but Lockie Smith is only in his second game tonight, the Warragul product, so a couple of little matchups to keep an eye on, Loz.
And with Vicentini at centre bounce and Sweet on the bench, Jason Horne-Francis is the deepest forward for Port Adelaide to start tonight's game.
It's going to be an interesting tactic. Can Port Adelaide cash in on what is a undermanned Western Bulldogs outfit? Friday night footy on ABC Sport. Aaron Bryans to call the action alongside me to get us going. Here's Tom Wilson.
So Willem Drew to Marcus Bontempelli and Matt Kennedy to Zach Butters.
They've already started.
They've already at each other. Josh Franco up in the middle of the ground. Vicentini knocks it down and bursting through is Bontempelli. Handballs it off to Richards, who goes inside the forward 50. Flying at that is Josh Lai. Couldn't complete the mark. Roving was Norton. So too is Bergman. Port Adelaide win the footy back. Ball's in dispute. Bergman lays a tackle on Will Lewis and we'll have a ball up 35 out from goal.
Almost poetry in motion, isn't it, when Bontempelli takes it in the centre bounce and just cruises out on his left. Beautiful.
So Dogs attacking 50, tap down, head over the footy, trying to win it is Watkins. Tackle late on Burn Jones by West, and we're going to get another ball up, still 35 out. Quick reset. Vicentini comes in with English. The ladder wins it down to Ed Richards, trying to break through Burgoyne, gets boot to ball, tumbling 20 out. Butters is there first. Hospital handball to Burn Jones. Crunched, gave it away. Artie Jones does the same. Lockie Jones again, another turnover. The Dogs have it, and they give it away. Port Adelaide scramble it out of there with a quick kick. It'll only go as far as Selwood, and he centres his kick to Karmas to the centre circle. Now looks to switch it out towards the eastern side. Butterick on return, runs through the logo, drives it towards the scoreboard, and on the march is Norton. Had metres on Alia, who's one of the better defenders this season. Now Norton gets an early win with a big mark in front, 40 from home.
Well, it was good play there from the Western Bulldogs. Great pressure inside their forward 50 to force Port Adelaide just to dump kick it out of there. And they'll set up really well behind the footy. And then they just changed the angle of the kick. And Connor Butterick, the ex-Gold Coast player, that dart inside 50 to find Norton. Good start.
Norton crosses the paint of 50, 45-degree angle. He leans back and strikes it pure. Dogs here up first. Opening goal going the way of Aaron Norton. 1 straight 6. Port Adelaide yet to score. Opening 2 minutes here at the Adelaide Oval on ABC Sport.
Well, Josh, we can't fault the start of the Bulldogs. It was very impressive centre bounce. You mentioned Bontempelli streaming out on his left foot after Vicentini actually won the tap. But the way they structured up and kept the ball in their front half after repeat stoppage, really clever and a nice patient build-up. Wouldn't it be nice to kick inside 50 to a leading Aaron Norton?
Oh, wouldn't it? Absolutely. It would put it anywhere and he'll do the rest.
It felt overdone and it didn't even matter.
Yes.
Those arms go forever.
The way he jumps at the footy.
Aaron Norton, headband and glove.
Bit too much going on.
Can he get away with it?
No, 20 years ago probably not, but he can.
22nd goal of the season for Aaron Norton. Leading the Bulldogs attack without Sam Darcy. English knocks it down. It's going to be a free kick from the ruck contest there.
The umpire's
not feeling well at all. I think he's collapsed there. Like a fainting sight.
I didn't see any contact.
No, there was no players. There was no players around. And in the meantime, there's a bit going on in the crowd as well. But it's umpire number 6 who's just got my binoculars on him and a little bit faint is Daniel Johansson.
I think he's taken the whistle off too, so he's definitely coming off.
So there was a free kick paid, but just it was an umpire contact, but I'm not sure where it came from. Potentially Ed Richards has run into him, so we'll have to wait for a replay on that. In the meantime, Dante Vicentini gets the free kick. It was a dangerous ball. Read best by Bailey Dale. Fell on the lap of Alia in the centre square. He's tackled by 2 Dogs and will have a ball up. So the Bulldogs lead it by 6 points. Middle of the ground. Aaron Norton got the first goal. So we just had a pause there with the umpire. Bailey Dale gets the footy. Handballs it back. Goes to Bailey Williams. Kicks down the line. Looking for Artie Jones, but Kane Farrell takes the intercept mark. Defensive side of centre wing.
Moves it to Lockie Jones, left half back, and through defensive 50, here's Josh Lai.
I like this lad. He can play, this Josh Lai.
Short and hard, just the required 15 to Burne-Jones. Has a runner, gives it to Butters. Squeezes his kick on the 45. Little hot for wines over his head, but Richards was out the back door. Gave it back to the Brownlow medalist, who's wrapped up in the tackle, holding the ball.
Caulfield.
Brick wall on the logo. The former Saint Nick Caulfield. Short pass, dinky to centre win. It's on the broadcast side, and Riley Sanders has it. Dogs by 6. Port yet to score.
One of the few mistakes you'll see Zach Butters make in that scenario, that little sort of kick inside just missed its mark and put Ollie Wines under pressure.
Bustlinger opens the arc and into the 50. High kick and a big 5 from Lai. So he rises above Riley West, takes the intercept mark and heads back towards Kane Farrell in the defensive goal square. Feels like a very defensive arm wrestle early. Dogs by 6.
Burne-Jones has got it in the left back pocket. Got options, been asked to play on. Flicks it off to Kane Farrell, who's in the defensive goal square. Short kick to Alir at right half back. Softly approach for Port Adelaide. Goes wider to Lai. Now he goes the long ball down the line looking for Whitlock. Pushed under the footy by Bustlinger, play on. Falls out the back to Tim English. His short ball to Sanders, misses the target, but he gathers on the half volley. Handballs out wide towards Caulfield. Made a strong tackle before. Goes all the way back to Selwood in the Bulldogs' defence. Switching play now to Buku Khamis. He marks on the chest. Short ball to Kennedy, right half back. So they started this ball at centre wing. Now they're at the other side of the ground, another 50 metres backwards. Looking for a short ball towards Bontempelli. Nursed under it, dropped the mark. Turnovers on. Ewan McKinlay has the footy. Goes inside the forward 50 now, but he couldn't find the target of Juan Francis over his head. And Selwood takes the intercept mark. Bulldogs lead by 6.
Zach Butters has given some pretty firm feedback to Ewan McKinlay on that decision there. He had a couple of handball options, but tried to go on his left.
9th game for the Peel Thunder products. Selwood down the line. Flying was Norton through his hands. West gets it out the back. Gave it to McNeil. Short little pass. Just low enough for Artie Jones to get the slips catch. Releases Bontempelli up to the 50. English marks. Easy overlap for the Dogs. Just has to place the kick. And Richards runs into the space to take the mark. It's a tight angle 5 out. Left forward pocket. Ed Richards to have a crack at goal.
One thing we're lucky to see tonight, Josh, is Tim English live. He is absolutely blowing up Dante Vicentini, and maybe a reason why Sweet started on the bench, because English is covering some serious ground and getting the ball at will.
Had 30 touches and 2 goals last year in Ballarat. The Power need to be mindful of Ed Richards. Short couple of steps, left-footed check side is perfect into the hill. And the Dogs go bang-bang to start. 2 straight 12, Port Adelaide yet to score. 6 played opening term. Friday night footy on ABC Sport with Lauren Arnell and Josh Franco.
Well, that's probably the Western Bulldogs at its best, isn't it? We talked about the feedback that Butters gave Ewan McKinlay. That kick inside 50 just wasn't the option, or wasn't executed to the level it needed to be. And once again, the modern game, you turn the footy over, particularly in your D50. It's difficult to slow the Western Bulldogs down in their ability to hit targets through the middle of the ground. And as you said, Lauren, Tim English is already having an influence on this contest.
Got the upper hand on Dante Vicentini. Let's go down to Vicky Schwartz on the boundary.
Well, I've got an injury update, not for a player but with an umpire. So the umpire involved in that centre bounce collision has been on the bench. He's being tended to by the Port physio. Looks like he's hurt a neck. Seems to be a bit of a neck injury, and he looks like he'll remain on the bench for the rest of the game.
So from the ruck contest, Tim English wins a free kick. There's another short ball.
That was the new rule where Vicentini stepped over the line before the ball was able to be made contact.
Bailey Williams goes inside the forward 50, looking for Norton, but Miles Bergman read it best. Was able to get McNeil to ground and takes a strong mark. Plays on quickly. McNeil puts some pressure on and landed in the lap of Vicentini, bounced around, bounced to Durden, he handballs to Richards. Port Adelaide with some run. He goes out wide towards McKinlay, strong in the marking contest near the logo. Got some overlap from Butters. He's got some company though, but cleverly handballs to Moraes. He's got some time to assess his options. Goes towards the top of the goal square and Georgiades, but there's Bulldogs everywhere. Bailey Dale gobbles it up.
Passes to Bontempelli, who takes the mark at left half back. Has a teammate riding shotgun. He'll release Gallagher, who takes a bounce through the benches. Not a lot ahead. He's pushed as he kicked it. He was about to turn it over. Had 3 power players waiting for him, and he kicked it tumbling over the boundary line, rather. It would have been last disposal. And instead, Jace Burgoyne, rush of blood, panics and gives away a free.
And even that inside 50 kick there from Murray just wasn't the option, was it? Kicked to about a 6v1. Just had to lower his eyes.
Gallagher works it through half back. Buku Kamas in game 50 drills it through the centre circle. English takes the mark but turns straight into Vicentini. Wanted to play on, will be held up.
He's giving Vicentini the runaround, isn't he?
He's teaching him a few lessons early in this game.
Flooding defensive 50. English pops it in and Aaliyah gets front spot on Riley West. It's a big mismatch and he comfortably gobbles that up. Right in front of the scoreboard, Aaliyah. He's eyeing off a second All-Australian blazer. Short pass central, wasn't 15, and now under a bit of pressure is Bergman. Gets it to Butters, who weaves through 2. Back to Aaliyah, fumbled at ground level. Pops up and just rushes his kick out of there. He's lucky because coming the other way was McKinlay to have scored it over. Otherwise it would have been last disposal.
Doggies look very, very organised in offence and in transition D, particularly when they can get their ball in their front half. They know that Port Adelaide want to cut through the middle, and they've got their numbers spread really nicely.
6 inside 50s to 2 in favour of the Western Bulldogs. Boundary throw-in, English in front, knocks it down. Head over the footy there. It's Bailey Williams, tackled by McKinlay. We'll have another ball up in the same spot. So 12-point leaders, the Bulldogs. English knocks it down towards Fraser. Cleverly taps it towards Richards. His quick kick inside the forward 50 bounces over his teammate in Lewis. And we'll have a boundary throw in front of the scoreboard. It's 2 straight, 12 the Bulldogs. Port Adelaide yet to score. 10 minutes gone in this first term for ABC Sport.
Slow start. Western Bulldogs looking to put the foot on the throat early. Tossed in, Vicentini gets the shallow drop ricocheting off his shins and they collapse into the footy. Ball up to come, 15 out.
And Port Adelaide looking to make the change. Jordan Sweets on the bench just can't get on the ground.
Vicentini down. Bounced it off Drew, had a hat kick that tumbles its way towards the boundary line. The Dogs asked the question, and they are going to deem it deliberate.
Yeah, you had to pay that one.
Rolled over 35 out. Riley Sanders jumps onto the footy and sets up for what will be a difficult, tight shot.
Look, it's a tough call. I don't think it is absolutely deliberate, but it's insufficient attempt to keep it in the field of play, so they pay them every day of the week.
He's starting just behind the light tower with his back to the Wanganeen stand.
Inside 50s as well at the moment, 7-2, so that's a concern for Port Adelaide.
Riley Sanders kicks from 40 out, close to the man on the mark. It'll carry across the face. Vicentini with the double tap down, probably could have plucked it out of the air. Has to gather on the bounce and hands it to McKinlay. They get out of dodge. McKinlay to left half back. It's a 3-on-1 and a good contest to just get it over the line from Watkins, or was it? They're going to deem it deliberate.
Out in the full.
Out in the full, flirting with the boundary line. So Buslinger will bring it back in. Steps inboard, sets it up, top of the goal square, cutting it off is Lockie Jones. Too strong, too good for young Cooper Hines. And as Lauren Arnell mentioned in the pre-game, the height is going to be a problem for the Dogs when they bang it in. Jones will drill it dicely up to 40. Moraes was very slick on the bounce though. Got the 1-2 with Butters, but turned into trouble. Dale engulfs him. 45 out, holding the ball. Free kick to the Western Bulldogs. In Bailey Dale's range on that lethal left.
It's blue-collar footy. You've got to, if you're a Western Bulldogs supporter listening in, you're enjoying what this team brings. Western suburbs of Melbourne, and they are willing to work hard. They might not have all the squad out there that they want, but the work rate is far exceeding what Port Adelaide are providing right now.
Port yet to hit the scoreboard. The Dogs up 2 straight. Bailey Dale at the attacking edge of the square. Bangs it in long from 55. Plenty of carry, but misses to the left. 2-1-13 the Western Bulldogs. Port yet to hit the scoreboard. 13 played, first term on ABC Sport.
And at the moment, Port falling victim to just overusing the ball by hand. Western Bulldogs tackling pressure is outstanding at the moment. It's 10-5, but Port Adelaide are running at 22 kicks and 16 handballs.
Logan Evans brought that back in towards Burgoyne. Almost completed the mark.
And they're paying the price for it, Tom, at the moment, because Western Bulldogs' pressure's been good.
So the switch is on over towards Lockie Jones. West can't get there in time for the Western Bulldogs. Coming out of defence, he's looking for Durden, but just overcooked it. Caulfield takes the intercept mark, left half forward for the Bulldogs.
Started a bit shakily, old Lockie Jones, hasn't he? Missed a handball early and a couple of kicks there have just gone astray coming out of D50.
Too much on that one for Norton, so Logan Evans pumps that back out of defence. Jason Horne-Francis on the wing. Caulfield ran straight into the tackle of Joe Richards. Too high from the umpire away from the ball. So he could have been holding the ball, but the tackle was just a little bit high. He ducked into that one.
Yeah.
So he goes all the way back to Lockie Bramble, who goes to Buslinger at centre half back.
They're the ones I'd like to see the umpires pay holding the ball, ducking the heads prior, just to take that out of the game.
Swings it out to Bailey Williams, the Glenelg product. Heads 30 from home. They converge. Throw a blanket over them off hands. Riley West, well scouted. Got it on the bounce. Hands it to Fraser in a bit of trouble. Spun around, went back to Sanders. He's tackled. Port Adelaide just keep hunting. The ball pinballs out to half forward for the Dogs. Kennedy's there. Dale sends it back in through the hands of Lewis. But Aaliyah committed. Will it stay in? Lewis can't get there as it trickles over the boundary line, and the Port fans frustrated. 3 chances at holding the ball,
I'll tell you
none
what,
rewarded.
They're frustrated, but they're under siege, the Port Adelaide defenders. 10-2 inside 50s. And as we said, the pressure of the game outstanding from both sides.
Certainly lifted in that passage of play, the power, but it's deep inside the Dogs' 50. English just grabs it out of the ruck, goes to Fraser, to Sanders. Kennedy on the right foot, snap just away to the right-hand side. That would have hurt. Miners scored 2-2-14, the Western Bulldogs. Port yet to score halfway through the first term.
Port are trying to put speed on the play, but the Bulldogs are sitting +2 behind the ball, especially when it's in their front forward 50. So it's really hard for them to get out.
Burgoyne heads to left half back. Farrell marks right on the painted defensive 50 and then centres it to Aaliyah. As Lauren said, they're just strangled right now in terms of how to get out. The Dogs have zoned centrally. Port Adelaide have to swing it wide.
And they've got to go forward with their ball movement here. They can't keep getting pinned in, kicking lateral in their D50.
Well, what it takes is work rate of repeat leads to actually move these defenders, and there's not enough of it.
Logan Evans the 1-2 with Burgoyne, but his kick smothered. Riley West sharked it, pocket picked. He marches to 20 and screws it through. The Bulldogs are hungry tonight. They are all over Port Adelaide. Another defensive turnover. And the Bulldogs cash in. 3-2-20. Port Adelaide yet to score. 16 played. First term on ABC Sport.
Well, there's one team very willing to get their hands dirty and outwork the opposition to start this game, and it's the Western Bulldogs. They've had 5 more possessions than Port Adelaide and 4 more tackles, and their ability to structure up and I guess get in the eyes of the Port Adelaide defenders who are trying to exit D50. There's enough possession, Josh, in that back half for Port Adelaide, but they're looking up and seeing nothing because there's a real lack of movement.
Absolutely, and as you said, even on that example there, they're just overusing the ball. They're not getting any field position off the back of their want and willingness to try to kick mark their way out of their back 50, and they're paying the price for it because, as we said, the Western Bulldogs' pressure's good and they're making them hurt on turnover.
So Sweets into the ruck, knocks it down towards Horn Francis, who's been playing forward. They're trying a few things here. Josh Carr, Berry handballs it to Wines, kicks inside to Georgiades, knocked down. Roving was Durden. Free kick Georgiades for a hold against Karmas. He'll have a shot on goal, 40 out, 45-degree angle.
Well, it's amazing you put Jason Horn-Francis in the middle of the ground and things happen, don't they? I don't know why he starts forward. I know he's a nervous starter, but get your best players around the ball, particularly when you're under siege, and he was outstanding in the scramble there. Just his speed, his electric speed was really important for Port Adelaide to win that centre bounce and get some looks ahead of the ball, which ultimately drew the free kick.
So the Western Bulldogs got a hot start last week against the Dockers, and they've done it again tonight thanks to 11 inside 50s to 3. They're 3-2-20. Port Adelaide with their first opportunity to score. Mitch Georgiades kicks from 40 metres out, and a much-needed goal for the Power. They're finally on the board. It took them almost 18 minutes. It's through their main man, Mitch Georgiades. They're 1 straight 6. The Bulldogs are 3-2-20.
It's a good little settler there for Port Adelaide, and there's an argument there if you're in the coach's box right now, Josh. You'd be, if you're Stuart Dew, you're saying, can you please leave Jason Horn-Francis inside and let him compete at that centre ball up?
Yeah. Well, I think it's been reported that he says he's a self-confessed really nervous starter. Is that, am I right in saying that? I think I am. I think remembering hearing that a couple of years ago, but maybe starting him forward just till the game settles a little bit. But he's such a dynamic player. He's got electric speed. He's physical, and he's such a difficult matchup and so important for the Port Adelaide midfield. And to your point, Lauren, absolutely. If I'm sitting there as Port Adelaide's midfield coach, I'd say get him in and get Zach Butters there as well.
Margin just 13, Dogs' way. Tossed up in the middle, Lockie Smith got the tap, but off his fingertips straight towards Sweet. And there's a holding free kick going the way of the Power. Horn-Francis was held. Wines will take the advantage. Uses Watkins and heads up to right half forward. Berry takes it far from home. Not a lot ahead. Looked inboard, finally spots something late. Puts it 20 from home. Georgiades had a huge run and fly. Your old school vintage hanger. Sticks a knee in and plucks it 20 from home.
Tell you what, you talk about Zach Butters paying him $2 million a year. This bloke's currency just keeps going up. He's an absolute star. He's a lone hand up there for Port Adelaide and has been for the last 18 to 24 months. He is a genuine star of the competition, this bloke. He marks, he sits on your head, and he's a good finisher in front of goal.
Take a screenshot and put it in the dictionary, because that is as true blue specky as you'll ever see. No big highlight, just an awesome moment. Mitch Georgiades comes in and misses to the right. Couldn't put the cherry on top. 1-1-7 the power. They trail the Bulldogs 3-2-20. Time on in the first term on ABC Sport.
Just shows the importance of centre bounce clearance win too, doesn't it? You get field position, and now it's up to the Western Bulldogs to see if they can move the ball out of their D50.
It's a unique niche stat, but he's not a great kick after taking a hanger. He's taken so many of them, but the adrenaline's clearly rushing through. The Bulldogs bringing out a defence up towards the wing. A free kick's paid, so Fraser plays on. Handballs over the top to Artie Jones. He threads the needle to West, who fumbled. Watkins worried him out of it. His handball wasn't great, but finally gets it back to Ware at centre-half back. He kicks out towards the logo. Sweet v. Selwood. Selwood handballs to himself. Gets past the ruckman, goes to Sanders, who takes on two power players. Did well. Fires it back to Kennedy, who fires it further back, all the way back to Burrick at right half back, who finds Bustlinger at centre half back. So they've gone back 80 metres again, the Bulldogs. And Buku Karmas marks it defensive side centre wing.
Not a lot of pressure. They're doing pretty well with the uncontested game here. Karmas forward. Hines takes the mark, backs up and then loops it over the top. A nice arcing kick up towards Caulfield, far from home. He's just behind left half forward. Dogs kicking to the northern end, the left-hand side of your radio dial. Caulfield, bullet pass in, bounces off the chest of West, who flew. McNeil's there, shot the handball out, but didn't quite get to West. Aaliyah gets a hand in, ricochets out, and he knocks it over left half forward for the Dogs. Over at the Gabba, the Lions by 40 now in the second quarter, so they've really let loose against the Blues. They've kicked 4 unanswered goals in the second term, 56 rather, to 2-4-16. Time on in the second term there. You can hear it on ABC Listen. Tossed in. Smith down for the Dogs, straight to Kennedy, but turned into trouble. Butters coming the other way. Hard tackle, ball shoots out like a bar of soap. Picked up again by Kennedy, screws it centrally and curled it to Artie Jones, who took the mark and turned into a shirt front. He bounces off what was a heavy hit there from Logan Evans. And we'll get the 50. It would have been a set shot 30 out. He's marched to the goal square instead. Gee, it was an awkward ricochet. So Smith was running with Gallagher, Evans rather was running with Gallagher, and then kind of had to step sideways out, ends up running head on into Artie Jones, who takes the 50, says thank you very much, and puts it over the goal umpire's hat. Western Bulldogs by 3 goals, 4-2-26 to 1-1-7, 22 played first term. Josh Franco, Lauren Arnell.
Well, Logan Evans was pleading his case to the umpire. That wasn't 50, but looking at the replay, that was definitely there. And it's almost like the Bulldogs need sort of 2 methods of play inside forward 50. When Norton's off and you've got Aaliyah there, just don't bomb the ball in, because Aaliyah's such an important player and an incredible intercept marker. But on that occasion, the quick ball inside forward 50 and creates chaos ahead of the ball, and drew the free kick and drew the 50. So, sorry, marked the ball and drew the 50. So good play there from the Western Bulldogs.
Dominating the inside 50s, 14-4. Clearances 7-4. And they have a 19-point lead. Back in the middle of the ground, Sweet gets it to Horn Francis, who handballs to Wines. He's going to go the 1-2 with Horn Francis. Took on the tackle, and that was good from Butterick. Knocked it out of his hands. Flicks it back to Bramble at right half back, who finds Oscar Baker. Plays on quickly through centre wing. Flat ball down the line, but kicks it straight to Ali, who dropped the mark. He was all alone. It allows Norton to soccer it inside the forward 50. McNeil comes out, goes to Bontempelli, handballs it off to the big ruckman in Smith, but he sprays it right across the face of goal and out of bounds on the full. That's a big missed opportunity not to score there. So the Bulldogs still up by 19 points, 23.5 minutes gone in this first term.
That's something you don't see as well as Aaliyah drop an absolute sitter like that.
The flow on turnover is pretty dangerous right now. The Dogs look good. Port try to exit, and again it's going to come back in off the pack. Picked up well by Butterick. Hot handball though to Richards, who had Wines breathing down his neck. Port Adelaide get the turnover. Georgiades Out to Sweet and then Drew. Across the body to a 3-on-1. Horne-Francis makes the contest. Did well when he was outnumbered. Knocked the ball wide. Berry loses his feet. He was trying to backtrack. Couldn't get away from Gallagher. Fell backwards. Horne-Francis tries to mop it up and knocks the footy over at right half forward. What an effort from the Hornet. Oh, yeah. And poor Joe Berry just got tangled in all sorts.
He did. He looked ahead of the ball and he had Western Bulldogs. He had nothing to kick to. Tried to come back inside and slipped over. So in the end, a boundary throw-in is not a bad result for the Power.
So Sweet tries to take it out of the ruck as he often does. Drew goes in there, so does Butters. And Kennedy at the bottom of the pack. And Sweet lays another big tackle. Will have a ball up. Vicky Schwartz.
Not great news for Port. Miles Bergman hobbled off the ground and he's been had his right foot being worked on for about the last 10 minutes. It's being restrapped, but I believe it's the same right foot that he's spent most of the pre-season struggling with.
Certainly not good news at all for Port Adelaide. From the ruck contest, Western Bulldogs have surged forward through Artie Jones, gets the handball away to Hines. He misses his target though, and a quick kick out of defence from Durden. Did well to get all the way back. Goes to Butters, handballs to Wines on centre wing. His short ball, it was so obvious where he was going, and Caulfield got up for the smother and gets it out over the boundary line in front of his teammates on the bench. The Bulldogs are up by 19 points. They've dominated this first term. 25 minutes gone.
Well, they have, Tom. They're 16-4 inside 50s. I reckon they'll be ruining a few missed opportunities inside their forward 50, the Bullies. They've butchered a few going forward.
Toss back into play. Front position, Lockie Smith, but Sweet wins it down from behind. Got it straight to the Dogs, though. Kennedy handed it to Fraser, spun, threw it out. Play continues. Port win it anyway. Butters to Drew, then Durden loops the handball through the square. Moraes sells some candy on Dale. Exceptional. Gives it to Watkins from 40. Heads for home. And Jack Watkins strikes. Welcome back, Jack. Third of the year. And in his young career as well. Port Adelaide bring the margin back down to 13. 2-1-13. Western Bulldogs 4-2-26. Still 3 to go in this first quarter. Friday night footy on ABC Sport.
We've mentioned a few times the Bulldogs have +2 behind the ball quite regularly, and Port Adelaide have been sending extras up to the stoppage, and I think great involvement from Christian Moraes as that one through the corridor and the handball chain, almost beating the Bulldogs at their own game, running at them and forcing the defender to make a decision and come forward. And for Jack Watkins to finish that goal as another in, coming in for Todd Marshall tonight, it is a really good one for him and a nice settler for Port Adelaide. They've been comprehensively beaten in this first quarter, and to only be 13 points back, I think, is a really promising sign for them.
So Miles Bergman is on the bench with a foot issue. From the ruck contest, Zach Butters roves, goes to Horne-Francis. That's what every Power fan loves to see, looking for Georgiades. Karmas did well to bring it to ground, and he wins another free kick. The one-on-ones, the nervousness from Karmas, that's his second free kick against. This one's 25 out directly in front.
Well, Tom, just looking at the numbers from centre bounce, Port Adelaide at the moment, 5-2 clearances. They've already kicked 1 goal, 1 lining up for another goal here to Georgiades from centre bounce. They look really dynamic, and it's the old saying, you get it in quick, you put the defenders under the pump, you draw free kicks.
So Butters to Horne-Francis to Georgiades.
A few dollars there.
Just a few. Georgiades comes in from 25 out and smashes it straight through. Back-to-back goals for the Power and a second for Georgiades. They're right back in it. 3-1-19. The Bulldogs 4-2-26. 27 and a half minutes gone in the first term for ABC Sport.
Josh, you mentioned how much it helps if you go quick out of centre bounce, or centre ball up rather, and you feel for Buku Karmas. He's 1 out versus Georgiades, and as a forward in that situation, all you need to do is get front position, and you're either going to find a mark, create an effective contest for your smalls, or what we saw happen is win that free kick. So smart play from Georgiades, making front position, but again, Port Adelaide's so dynamic from this centre ball up, and the missing ingredient from the start of the game for mine is Jason Horne-Francis. Every time he's been in there, something good happens for Port Adelaide.
Dogs by 7. Vicky Schwartz downstairs.
On and off 3 or 4 times, trying to get back on the ground, but now he looks like he's in a world of pain. He's got his boot off and he's just walked into the rooms with the physio.
Sorry, Vicky, just repeating, that's Miles Bergman?
Yes, Miles Bergman has gone into the rooms.
Tossed up in the middle, Sweet down straight to Burgoyne, little fumble, made amends, got it to Butters, he's sandwiched, just held up and brought to ground, holding the ball. Riley Sanders wins the free kick. Wants to play on quickly. Runs around Zach Butters, who doesn't tail him. Sanders towards the 50. Try to pop it in the hole. Looking for Hines. Got a fist in. Bobbled out. Fraser releases Bontempelli. Gee, he was lurking dangerously outside of that pack. And the Bont just waited and snaffled it up. Immediate response for the Dogs close to quarter time. It'd infuriate Josh Carr. 5-2-32 the Western Bulldogs. Port Adelaide 3-1-19. We've played 29 minutes in this first term. Half-time over at the Gabba. And the Lions lead the Blues by 38 points. 88-56 to 26-18.
Well, good reply there from the Western Bulldogs. Just looking at some of the numbers, Port Adelaide paid the price there just overusing the ball by hand. They're running at 46 kicks and 42 handballs, which is almost 1-to-1, which is a high handball number in terms of the way that Port Adelaide want to use the footy. As we said, the Western Bulldogs' pressure around the footy and their tackling pressure has been good in this first quarter and just paid the price there, Zach Butters. And once again on turnover, good finish, Marcus Bontempelli.
Visentini knocks it down towards Horn Francis. Bontempelli cleverly soccers it off the ground. Could have been in danger. Through the hands there of Gallagher. So Port Adelaide win the ball back through Horn Francis. Did well under pressure to get it back to Ware. Centre wing spots up Watkins in the middle of the ground. Handballs to Butters. Brambles chasing. Strokes him off. Takes the bounce. 60 from goal. Kicks towards the goal square. Sweets running back and landed in his lap. What a perfect pass from Zach Butters. And the big ruckman marks at the top of the goal square.
That was unbelievable from Zach Butters. Under pressure. He had to literally drop it in a bin, and he did that and found the chest of big Jordan Sweet. He had no room for error there, no margin for error whatsoever. That was phenomenal.
Bontempelli at one end, Butters at the other, and Sweet to finish it off. A quick response from Port Adelaide. We've got a game on our hands here at Adelaide Oval. Port 4-1-25. The Bulldogs 5-2-32. 31 minutes gone first term.
It's a nice little way to begin your game if you're Jordan Sweet, and a nice way to cap off a Friday after announcing pregnancy of twins for him and his wife this week. So, geez, if you're Sweetie running back with the flight there and you know Zach Butters is streaming in, he's in a good spot to tick back towards goal, and Butters just put it on an absolute platter for him. What a delightful kick.
Tell you the other thing, they're running at about 90% efficiency, scoring efficiency inside 450. So they've only gone in 7 times for 5 shots for 4 goals won, and largely off the back of their centre bounce clearances. But on that occasion, again, talk about the exquisite skills of Zach Butters. Superb.
He's putting on a display. It's almost an audition for the Western Bulldogs tonight. 12 touches in the first term, and a huge shout out to Jordan and Juliet Sweet. They're due in October with twins. Tapped down, Richards onto it first, wrapped up by Vicentini. Ball shoots out, Berry crunched. Spearing tackle from English, who dived on hands and knees to cut across. Berry was surging through the corridor. We'll get a reset. Tap down, early whistle, hold from the non-controlling umpire, going the Dogs' way. Richards will take it just outside the centre circle. Wants to move it quick. The reigning best and fairest winner sees Norton in a paddock. Who is his opponent? Alia's napping in the defensive goal square, and Norton takes the uncontested grab, 35 out, straight in front.
I think Cooper Hines is proving his worth as a very valuable blocker there on Alia and providing plenty of space for Aaron Norton to run and jump at the footy. Hines has taken the bodies of both Logan Evans and Alia, allowing Norton to run up and jump without any pressure.
Aaron Norton comes in hard towards the hill. It's an excellent finish. 2 for him in the term. And the Dogs back up by 13. We are going blow for blow as these two sides trade shots at the Adelaide Oval. But it is the Western Bulldogs 6-2-38 to the Powers 4-1-25, closing in on quarter time on ABC Sport.
Tell you what, he's looking threatening, isn't he, Norton, ahead of the ball, and that's the second time he's got a Lear on the lead up. Admittedly, he did get some help from a teammate, Aaron Norton, but gee whiz, the ability to lead aggressively and with speed at the ball carrier just draws the kick, and he's good enough to go back and finish the goal. Really good again reply there from the Western Bulldogs.
Norton with 2, Georgiades with 2. Stars of our game, Butters and Bontempelli, and a great kick inside 50 there from Ed Richards. So with the dying minutes of this first term, Visentini runs under it, and he's going to get a free kick for a too high, and Bontempelli just plays on quickly while everyone watched the umpire. His kick inside the forward 50 was brought to ground. Port Adelaide defence under pressure. There's a player there who's got 2 Bulldogs on top of him. They were trying to hold it in for the holding the ball. The umpire says, "You're okay, Logan Evans," and we'll have a ball up. So English comes in, knocks it back towards Sanders, to Bailey Williams, kicks towards the top of the goal square. Dangerous, but Aaliyah wins out in this contest, marks it on the chest. Important one at fullback.
2 centre bounce free kicks against Vicentini. When you talk about field position so critical, you just can't give them away in the centre bounce.
Fresh off 14 marks against the Adelaide Crows, Aaliyah sends his exiting kick to right half back, and that'll do us for the first quarter here at the Adelaide Oval. Little bit of an arm wrestle. The Dogs certainly had territory, but Port Adelaide staying in the hunt, and the margin's just 13 at the first break. 6-2-38, plays 4-1-25. The goal scorers for the Dogs: 2 to Norton, singles to Bontempelli, Kennedy in his 150th game, West and Artie Jones on return. Meanwhile, for Port Adelaide, 2 to Georgiades and singles to Sweet and Watkins. So Mitch Georgiades and Aaron Norton just continue to trade blows through the season. They've both kicked 23 goals, both in the top 5 in terms of the Coleman right now, and you feel like it might come down to who has the bigger night out of these two sides. Excellent start so far at the Adelaide Oval, and shout out to you, Lods, that the crowd has started to build a little bit as well, so that the Hills...
Just needed time for a feed after Friday work.
So everybody's had their dinner and come over, and probably looking more like towards the 30,000 mark. There's a few patches in the upper tiers, but it isn't as disastrous as it looked in the pre-game. In the other game over at the Gabba as well, the Brisbane Lions leading the Blues at half-time, 8-8-56 to 2-6-18, and you can hear it on ABC Listen through the AFL button. If you want to get in touch with us here, the text line 0437 774 774. The thoughts of Lauren Arnell and Josh Franco to come next. This is Friday Night Footy on ABC Sport.
Why aren't journalists allowed to tell you everything they see in court cases, and are those with means gaming suppression orders? We asked the self-described queen of banning things, retired Supreme Court Judge Betty King. Search the Case Of podcast on ABC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is the 2026 AFL Premiership season with ABC Sport.
Norton crosses the paint of 50, 45-degree angle. He leans back and strikes it pure. Dogs here first. Ed Richards, short couple of steps, left-footed, check side is perfect into the hill. And the Dogs go bang-bang to start. Logan Evans the 1-2 with Burgoyne, but his kick smothered. Riley West sharked it, pocket picked. He marches to 20 and screws it through. The Bulldogs are hungry tonight.
So the Western Bulldogs got a hot start last week against the Dockers, and they've done it again tonight thanks to 11 inside 50s to 3. Mitch Georgiades kicks from 40 metres out, and a much needed goal for the Power. They're finally on the board.
Butters to Drew, then Durden loops the handball through the square. Moraes sells some candy on Dale. Exceptional, gives it to Watkins from 40, heads for home, and Jack Watkins strikes.
Georgiades comes in from 25 out and smashes it straight through. Back-to-back goals for the Power, and a second for Georgiades. They're right back in it.
Aaron Norton comes in hard towards the hill. It's an excellent finish. 2 for him in the term.
The AFL on ABC Sport.
On radio.
ABC Sport Digital Radio.
And ABC Listen.
Great to have you with us for Friday Night Footy on ABC Sport. 13-point game at the first change. The Western Bulldogs look hungry tonight on a 4-game losing stretch. The biggest in 6 years for them. They wouldn't want to make it 5. 2018 was the last time that happened. They were premiership favourites. Now they just need to get the job done on the road after this past month. 6-2-38. They've got the hot start on Port Adelaide, 4-1-25. That being said, Zach Butters doing everything in his power to keep his current side in it, and what we've branded the Zach Butters Cup. Western Bulldogs certainly eyeing his talents. Aaron Bryans and Tom Wilson calling the action for you alongside Lauren Arnell and Josh Franco. Fair bit of news out of the first quarter, some wild ones. So we saw umpire Daniel Johansson get clattered into by Ed Richards at a centre bounce. He was running in from behind, bowled him over. Took a while to get off the ground. He didn't look like he was in a good state. Vicky Schwartz was keeping an eye on him, as she was of Miles Bergman, who had to make his way down the race with a lower leg issue. Vicky, what's the latest on Port Adelaide star backman?
Well, Miles Bergman hasn't yet emerged to join his teammates at the quarter-time huddle. He remains in the rooms, but the club says they haven't yet ruled him out. So obviously they're trying their best to get him back on the field.
Under siege at the moment, the Power's back 6. They could certainly use him. Lauren Arnell, Josh Franco. How are the Dogs on top in that first quarter.
Well, look, it's interesting, and at quarter time, the inside 50s are 19-7, so that is a concern in itself for Port Adelaide. But from the Western Bulldogs' perspective, they're winning 9-2 clearances around the ground, so ball ups and boundary throw-ins around the ground, and they've kicked 2 goals, 1. So that's an area of concern for Port Adelaide. I think over the last few weeks, their stars, particularly in their ability to clear the ball and get field position off the back of that, has been poor. But I reckon there'll be a few headaches in the Western Bulldogs box, particularly at centre bounce, where Port Adelaide are 6-3 up, and they've kicked 3 goals, 1. So their ability to win the centre clearance, particularly with Jason Horne-Francis, Zach Butters in there, and the quick movement inside forward 50 is putting the defenders for the Western Bulldogs under all sorts of pressure, and they look really dangerous ahead of the ball, particularly, as I said, when they're getting field position off the back of those centre bounce clearances. So the only other area of concern from Port Adelaide's perspective is they're running at almost 1-to-1 kicks to handball. So 50 kicks, 44 handballs, which is a big, like a small differential in terms of kicks to handballs, but they're overusing the ball at times. And as we said, the Western Bulldogs' pressure has been pretty good in inviting the pressure from the Western Bulldogs. But they've both got some work to do. But Port Adelaide, they've just got to tidy up that stoppage differential around the ground. Yeah,
and I think if you're in that Port Adelaide huddle, it'd be... to be fair, I think that'd be 2 very different huddles. I think if you Luke Beveridge, you're patting you guys on the back and saying that's the work rate we need, and we keep working like that, we win this game. If you're Port Adelaide, you say if you keep working like that, we're losing this game, and it's got to change. And I do think there's potential to do that. And 68% time in front half and a below average pressure factor for Port Adelaide is simply not good enough. And I expect a big shift here in this second quarter.
Just watching the huddles, Josh Carr straight to Dante Visentini with a message.
Yep.
Next person was Alir. So just those 2 areas that they're probably letting themselves down. We know great player in Alir, but the young ruckman in Visentini giving a couple of frees away.
He has, absolutely. And obviously we spoke about English in the early part of that first quarter was looking really dangerous for the Western Bulldogs. And, 2 centre bounce, free kicks. You just can't afford to do that.
Thoughts of Josh Franco, Lauren Arnell on ABC Sport. Who will adjust best? Up in the middle, English wins it down, looking for Richards. Off the bootlaces, it rolls out towards Horne-Francis. He'll leave it for Burgoyne, who then hands it to the Hornet. Around the body up to Richards. Forward of centre wing, eastern side. Sends it to right half forward. Kick was too long for Whitlock. Haven't seen a lot of him tonight. He was so good in the showdown, the Rising Star nominee. Instead, it's intercepted by Caulfield for the Dogs. Heads back to Buslinger. Across the goal face, he'll use Karmas. Plenty of space to run into as the Dogs head to the broadcast wing. Uses McNeil, flies alongside a couple of power players. Off hands, Richards, clean to McNeil. Then Baker, out wide. Selwood checks his kick up to right half forward. It was tight on the boundary line and should have been taken. Riley West came out to meet it, bounced off his chest. It's happened a couple of times tonight. Happened last week as well inside 50 against the Dockers. He just needs to be a bit cleaner, the father-son. So it's the Dogs by 13. Second quarter underway on ABC Sport.
Sweet with the double hand knockdown towards Moraes, who gets the handball away to Joe Berry. And he kicked it into his opponent, went off his thigh. So we'll have a boundary throw in front of the Port Adelaide bench.
Should mention as well, Daniel Johansson back out there, so he's all good after being run into by Ed Richards, but might be a fine in place there, unfortunately, for Ed.
It's going to hit his hip pocket, no doubt, but great to see the umpy back out there. Sweet knocks it down again towards Bontempelli, who was clean to English to Richards. Now to Bailey Dale. Kicks inside the forward 50, and Jones was too strong for his opponent. And in that process, Will Lewis gave a free kick away, and Jones will win the ball left back pocket for the Power.
Just that last boundary throw-in in front of us, you had Bontempelli on Moraes. That's probably not the matchup Port Adelaide won.
Cross defensive 50, Lockie Jones to Evans, and now Moraes. Really starting to come into his own. He was omitted in the first 5 games, Christian Moraes, but we saw in that second game last year that he played. He had 27 against the Bombers and fired a few weeks ago. Short pass to Alir. Now Joe Richards up towards Drew. This is the trademark Josh Carr power football, the pinpoint kick mark as they try to weave their way out of defensive 50.
I think a shift already from Port Adelaide in their back half. You can see far more work rate. Joe Richards is leading the charge now as that high half forward.
Drew to Butters, tries to pick the gap between 2 Dogs to Moraes, but it just lingered in the air a little long. Fist comes in, boundary thrown at the Bashir stand.
It just looks really slow and stagnant though, doesn't it? No real flow, not getting field position. They're kicking laterally or backwards, short little 45s, but not really going anywhere at the moment, Port Adelaide, with their ball movement out of their back half.
Sweet v English, gets out over the back, Drew, in front of Bontempelli. Handballs to Richards. runs through the logo, kicks up towards left half or right half forward. Vicentini in front of Bussinglinger and just got one over the shoulder. So the young ruck gets the free kick. Handballs to Jace Burgoyne. Flat ball inside the forward 52 flat. Read by Ed Richards, who takes the intercept mark at left half back.
That's a poor kick. Just releases the pressure, doesn't it?
So Richards plays on. Under a bit of pressure from Horne-Francis, but finds the chest of Norton. Touched off the boot, says the umpire. So we'll have a ball up forward of centre wing for the Power. They're trailing by 13 points, 3.5 minutes into this second term.
Tossed into the air. English gets front spot, but tapped it straight to Burgoyne. Bangs it out of there. Across the body. It's going to work. Jason Horne-Francis arcs out wide and takes it bang on the paint of 50. Has he got the range, the Hornet? Lauren Arnell shakes her head. Usually at full march, I reckon he would, Loz, but...
Oh, I was shaking my head at a couple of the leads that were being offered. I don't think Jason would be passing it to anyone but Kane Farrell, who now has the ball.
Yeah, he realised and went wide. Taking it at centre-half forward is Kane Farrell, and he's certainly got the range.
Well, that's poor defensively from the Western Bulldogs. Know your players, know their strengths. Kane Farrell, he'll kick this over the goalpost height. Just can't leave him free. That little lateral kick inside from Horne-Francis, and now they get this scoring opportunity.
Here comes Kane Farrell. Gives it everything right under the footy. It might pitch on the goal line. It's going to be line ball. Selwood flies. I think it's beaten him. Another 60-metre bomb from Kane Farrell. It's becoming his trademark. Port Adelaide get the first of the second quarter. Margins down to 7. 6-2-38 the Dogs. Port Adelaide 5-1-31. 4 played second term. Josh Franco, Lauren Arnell with you for Friday Night Footy on ABC Sport.
Will they review that? Because the Western Bulldogs player, I'm not sure who it was, he was protesting that he touched it and he was filthy.
The ARC should be looking at it in the gap between when they go back to the ball up.
So Selwood.
Yeah. And he's protesting and pleading his case to the umpire, but it might have been over the line before he even got a fingernail to it.
How's that? Just a 60-metre set shot.
Well, I think the other thing as well,
It'd be nice to be able to do it, wouldn't it?
And would like to see the replay. I don't know what English was doing there as a ruckman. He was the one that probably could have influenced that, but we've got a delay in play here. Looks like they are.
Oh, no. Just put it in the book, Josh. No! They're overturning it. It's going to be a behind. The ARC rewards Michael Selwood's plea. And it will be a minor score. Bulldogs lead is 12 now. 4-2-26 plays 6-2-38.
If he didn't plead his case, would they'd still review it?
Yeah.
They do. Okay.
They do. I just think in considering how, strong he was in that, they probably could have done it a little bit quicker, but they get the right outcome. So Dale brings it in, finds the chest of English, plays on quickly, and they're running it out of defence. Handballs off to Sanders, and Fraser kicks down the line, but kicked it straight to Aliir, who dropped the mark on his chest. He's got Norton for company now. Dangerous handball, ended up handballing it to himself. The ball is shuffling back towards the Bulldogs forward 50, and wrapped up in the tackle there was Hines from Farrell. Ball up.
I'd love to know what the rock-up position plan is for English, because Sweet and Vicentini are just getting burnt around the ground and not going with him.
Drew handballed it to Burgoyne, who was thrown off the footy. Sanders in there. Fraser too. Burgoyne handballs back to Horne-Francis at right half back. Had his head ripped off. Play on, says the umpire. Said he ducked. Kicks the ball into the middle of the ground to Berry, to Richards. Out wider to McKinlay on the logo. Plays on through the members' side of the ground. Kicks up towards Mitch Georgiades, and didn't really want to kick on his left foot there, McKinlay, and we can probably see why. That was a shocker, but landed inside the forward 50 and then ran out, so we'll get a boundary throw in, not a last touch free.
Probably just a bit of rush of blood there again from McKinlay, wasn't it? Just poor execution under pressure, but a bit more composure with ball in hand.
Dogs by 12, Port's 50, tossed in. Sweet takes it out of the ruck, turns into the Bont tackle, got it out. Butters, Hollywood handball, over his head to Wines. Now Berry, Port Adelaide surging. The power through McKinlay, sells the candy. Balls, check side, extraordinary. Ewan McKinlay shows some tricks. That is a party trick from McKinlay. Right in the pocket, 20 out. Excellent from the young man, making it a 1-goal game. 5-2-32. Port Adelaide trail the Dogs 6-2-38. 7 played second term. Wow.
Well, he's had a couple of moments, hasn't he, McKinlay? We saw one about 20 seconds ago before he kicked that goal. There were one in the first quarter where, as you said, Lauren, Zach Butters wasn't happy with his decision going inside forward 50, and I'll go so far as to say I reckon he got the ball and didn't have a clue what he was going to do with it, but what a finish.
Well, good on him. It's on that
absolutely.
That left boundary side. Joe Berry's a left footer, gave it off to give to McKinlay and back his teammate in. Well done. He's a hard worker. He deserves it.
That is a young player in a nutshell in 30 seconds. Back in the middle of the ground, Tim English kicks inside the forward 50, flying. That is live, brings it to ground. Port have the numbers at ground level. First Burne-Jones, then to Jones. Kicks down the line. Had too much on that. Best read there by Selwood. Takes the intercept mark. Goes the way back to Bailey Dale, who's going to run through centre half back for the Western Bulldogs. Flat ball for Bontempelli. Marks in the circle. Hot handball to his teammate and Butterick. Worked his way through it to Sanders, who finds a target in Fraser. Great ball movement from the Bulldogs. They'll have a shot 40 metres out directly in front.
That was a terrific kick inside 50 there from the Bulldogs. Yeah, it was superb, wasn't it? He had Ilea looked like he was dropping off to air assist for the long one in, and just had the presence of mind to lower the eyes and find a connect inside 50. That was really good play, particularly under pressure.
So Fraser had a night out here earlier in the season against the Crows. Has a chance to hit the scoreboard here in the second term from 45 metres out. Hits it nicely and straight through the big sticks. The Bulldogs respond with a goal in the second term, and they extend their margin back out to 12 points. They're 7-2-44, Port a 5-2-32, almost 10 minutes gone in the second term.
Well, the Doggies guys have got to reply for everything at the moment, and I loved the ambitious kick from Bailey Dale. He's a leap by foot, and the one inside to get them going through the corridor to Bontempelli was as good a kick as you'll see tonight. Absolutely sliced it. And then the composure, as you mentioned, Josh, from Riley Sanders going inside 50, something he's continuing to add to his game, and Logan Evans got caught sleeping on Fraser. Doggies, just response for absolutely everything tonight so far.
Some good news for the Power fans downstairs. Vicky Schwartz.
Yeah, while Port was celebrating that fantastic goal by McKinlay, Miles Bergman is back on the ground. He's had a lot of treatment, but he is playing.
Tossed into the air, Sweet tapped it down and then threw a fist in. Got the second bite. Bailey Dale surges off half-back, straight into trouble. Took it out of the air and smashed for it. Big tackle. Durden gets him holding the ball. Port now have it in the centre square. Durden heads out wide to the eastern wing. Well-placed pass as he weighted it up towards McKinlay. Steps inboard on the left. Drives it to Whitlock. Juggled and let it slip late. Hit the deck hard. Ball bobbled out. They're not going to pay it. Gallagher gets the clearing kick. Port fans reckon he might have had enough of it. Up towards the broadcast wing. Norton can't control the footy. West as well ripped away from it. Comes Port's way. Josh Lai shoots the handball into Durden. Didn't know what to do. Caught in two minds. But Gallagher can't stick the tackle. He goes for the check side. Left forward pocket. It's across the face. And the intercept mark is taken on the behind line by Selwood, who heads sent it out towards left half back. And Kennedy has it now for the Dogs. Gee, that was a flurry of action. In the end, the Western Bulldogs win out in front of the Wanganeen stand. They're up by 12 in the second term. We've played 11 minutes on ABC Sport.
Butterick goes short to Williams. Handballs it all the way back to Butterick. And he goes short to Bailey Dale, left half back. So the switch is on. Done this well tonight, the Western Bulldogs. That's why they lead by 12 points. Looking for Sanders, had too much on it. Gathered by Butters, and he was able to get a brilliant handball out to Wines. Here's Bergman back on the ground. He kicked it into the man. Smothered. Good effort, good defensive effort from the Bulldogs. Ball spills out to centre half forward, and we'll have a ball up.
What about the handball of Zach Butters?
Oh, it's almost spinning like a turbine, wasn't he?
He was. Just has that sixth sense, doesn't he? Almost, you can't teach that to players. He's just got this natural instinct.
So McNeil got a free kick perhaps for too high against Butters. He plays on quickly, kicks towards the wing in Bontempelli. West took on the tackle, dropped the ball, play on, says the umpire. He got tackled again. Not sure how he got rid of it. Bontempelli has the footy inside the 50. Norton flew, couldn't complete the mark. At the front was Live fumbling. The handball over the top to Butters. They've got players out here, Port Adelaide. Whitlock's in a panic. He's got some support if he wants it. He takes a bounce, he fumbles. Oh, Jack Whitlock, he had too much time. He can't work out what to do. Handballs to a teammate. Berry wants his left foot, 35 out, kicks across goal and he finds the target in Durden. How long did Jack Whitlock take? And they finally got the mark inside.
He got away with it too, didn't he? I think the handball to run past from Berry was on, and they're very close mates. I'm sure he'll let him know all about it during the week, Joe Berry.
I'll tell you what, the kick from Berry to find Durden was good as well.
Yeah, good vision.
I think that looked intentional. He wasn't going for goal. That was a terrific execution under pressure.
Great vision, and Durden has a chance. The second goal of the term for Port Adelaide, and he's just pulled it away to the left. Big missed opportunity there for Corey Durden, who's been so effective this year. They go to 5-3-33. The Bulldogs are 7-2-44, 13 and a half gone in this second term.
Now to left half back, Sanders. Had Whitlock trailing him. Got the handball, 1-2 as he linked up with Selwood. Looks for Bontempelli. Francis cuts him off. Ball hits the deck. Sanders comes with the assist. Tackled, released it. Burgoyne gives it to Wines. Port inside 50. Whitlock off the turnover. Had some space near the light tower and takes it 35 out.
Good pressure there from Port Adelaide to force the turnover. They had the outnumber. Bit of a fumble by the looks of it. I'd like to see the replay from Bontempelli, but that kick inside 50 again. Just lowered the eyes, didn't blaze away, and found a really good connect in Whitlock.
Intensity is lifted for the power, and it's forcing some errors. Can Jack Whitlock make them pay off that turnover? He starts in front of the Wanganeen stand. The young lad out of Shepparton, Jack Whitlock, with a meaty strike. It'll be close. He's squeezed it in. Excellent finish from Jack Whitlock. His first of the night. Margins down to 5. 7-2-44 the Dogs. Port Adelaide 6-3-39. Lauren Arnell and Josh Franco with you for Friday Night Footy on ABC Sport. We've played 14 minutes into the third term.
We don't always see it in AFL footy because the grounds are so good, but I reckon this is the scoring end, guys, just near the hill. The style of footy that we saw from the Bulldogs that they send in the first quarter is exactly what we're seeing from Port Adelaide now. High pressure factor. The Port team have had 13 tackles to 4 in this second quarter and +5 with the footy. So we're just seeing their ability to keep the ball in front half. It's helping them gain ascendancy in this game, and now only 5 points down.
Another two glaring numbers here are the contested ball numbers, 16-8, and the clearance count. They've turned that around the power, 6-2 at the moment.
Back in the middle of the ground, Visentini knocks it forward. Two Bulldogs run onto it. Richards and Kennedy. Richards gathers, snaps around the body, looking for Artie Jones, rode by Sanders. That was clever. Fakes the handball. Back to Artie Jones. He runs into his teammate, bounces off him, snaps around the body and pulls it too far. That would have been a unique goal to Artie Jones. Instead, it's a minus score. 7-3-45. Port 6-3-39. We're halfway through this second quarter. Interestingly, Zach Butters won the toss and kicked the other way. So potentially the scoring end in the second term and the last quarter line.
You with me on that one?
I think so. I think.
Playing on from the defensive goal square, Farrell gives it a lot. Up to centre wing broadcast side, off hands. As trying to bring it down was Lockie Smith. Whitlock fumbles, tackle laid close to the benches as Watkins is brought down by Fraser. Get a ball up. Lockie Smith in game 2. Rips Vicentini out of the ruck contest. Free kick going the Dogs' way.
Goodness me.
Gee, spun him around the body to the second gamer, and he's going to get the footy for his troubles. Lockie Smith out of Warrigal into the 50. Aaliyah late into the pack, buffeted everybody but put down the mark. And Riley West is wrapped up front and square. Ball up to come inside 50 for the Dogs. 40 from home, slightly right of centre. Headed to the Riverbank stand and up by 6. Vicentini, the only ruck this time, taps it straight to McKinlay but missed the handball to Wines. Cutting across, couple of tackles laid. And we'll get another ball up closer to home for the Dogs as Riley West is ripped off the canvas.
English, clever knockdown to Richards, gets the handball away to Fraser, kicks towards the top of the goal square. Flying over the top, big grab. Aaliyah thought he was going to gobble it up. Instead, Lewis flies and marks on his chest.
Wow, that was interesting, wasn't it? I thought Aaliyah probably wasn't preempting that there was contact or there was a body coming to compete for that aerial ball then and almost took it a little bit easy. And tell you what, it just landed in the hands.
And Lewis makes him pay. He was the only one that flew at the footy. and he gets his just rewards. Lewis gets his first of the night. The Bulldogs, their second for the second quarter. They get that margin back out to 12 points, 8-3-51, Port 6-3-39.
What I will say about Aliir, though, he hasn't looked very sure with his hands tonight. There's about 3 or 4 marks that he would normally swallow. We saw one only about 30 seconds ago, but just hasn't looked all that, as I said, sure with his hands, just fumbling the ball, and on that occasion just probably was a little bit lackadaisical and didn't get the job done.
And he's had such a good start to the season. He hasn't looked the same tonight just yet, and perhaps that's because Norton's out there, but I think you hear coaches say take the ball at its highest point or your highest point, and Lewis had him absolutely done in that area, in that contest.
2-goal lead to the Dogs. It's been a pretty tight affair. Biggest advantage for the Western Bulldogs was 19 points. Tossed up, English down and volleyed out of there by Kennedy. Tumbles on the bounce to Sanders, who ran straight back where it came from. He had so much momentum. Got the handball to Richards. English now sends it inside 50. Backtracking is Baker. Kennedy flies off hands. Artie Jones is tracking it well. Head over the footy. Gets it to Fraser. 30 from home. His snap is too soft. Drops into the defensive goal square. Intercept taken by Ware. His kick was well weighted to Vicentini, but the ruckman just flew into the drop and it bounces off him over the boundary line. It'll be tossed in right half forward for the Western Bulldogs, who are up 12 over at the Gabba. The Lions lead by 49 over the Blues in the third term.
Boundary throw in. Bulldogs lead it by 12 points. English knocks it forward. Sanders roving, having a great quarter. Flicks it back to Butterick, the defender, around the body on the left boot. Just the way to the left, minus score. 8-4-52. The Bulldogs, Porter 6-3-39. Almost into time on in the second quarter. Vicky Schwartz.
Miles Bergman is back on the bench and having deep conversations with the physio again. Jason Horne-Francis spent some time on the bench. He's had his right thumb strapped, but it looks like he's about to come back on.
Logan Evans, the 1-2 out of the defensive goal square as he combines with Wines. Got it to Drew, just casually went for the mark and it slipped straight through his hands. Sanders pounces, gives it to Gallagher back inside 50. Baker uses the body to push off of Evans, but fell into the footy and couldn't take the mark. It'll be a boundary throw in, 25 out.
I wonder if there's any dew on the ground, because they're mishandling. I know that's potentially a result of the pressure, but just some mishandling, and Drew on that occasion just went through his mitts.
Tossed in. English front position, Dogs 50-40 out. Knocked down straight to Drew. Hard tackle as he's driven into the deck by English. Ball up to come. 40 out. We're at the southern end at the moment, the right-hand side of your radio dial. Sweet down, straight to Kennedy though. McNeil off a step, skies it to the top of the goal square. Norton's underneath it. Aliir shoves him out of it. Lockie Jones takes it on the bounce. Gives it to Evans, outside of the boot exit. Caught behind was Bramble. Knocked out towards Buslinger. Gets it to McNeil. Fraser with the hot handball. He shoots it wide. And the duking pass out towards Hines is just a little wide. Rolls over back where we started. 30 from home. Right forward pocket. It's the Dogs by 13 points rather here at the Adelaide Oval. Time on in the third.
Boundary throw in. Sweet knocks it down. Roving was Fraser. Ran over the top of it. So did Kennedy. Butters is in there, clean, gets it to Drew, snaps around the body, launching it, that was Georgiades, dropped the mark but created a contest, managed to get the handball away, riding the tackle there was Farrell on Bontempelli, and we'll have a ball up defensive side of centre wing for the Power, trailing by 13 points. Umpire wastes no time, English was quick through the gap there, out towards where Kennedy socketed off the ground, off the half volley though was Lockie Jones, he kicked it straight to Bontempelli. Can't be doing that.
Just needed to get field position there.
Goes inside the forward 50. Aliir was underneath it, punched over the top, roved well by the Power. Evans to lie. He kicks a clearing ball out towards Whitlock. The 2-on-1, Selwood over the top, knocks it out over the boundary line, but probably a good result for Port. We'll have a throw in about 80 from the Bulldogs' goal.
Yeah, that was a poor kick from Lockie Jones. They've been under siege for that probably a couple of minutes in terms of their ability to clear the ball out of their D50 and their back half, so just had to get a bit of territory on that kick.
Dogs by 13, Friday night footy on ABC Sport. Tossed in, Sweet down, Butters took it, blind turn and went straight into Kennedy. Big clash, grabbed at his head, pops up and takes the free kick. They might need a quick look at him, but he seems to be okay, Zach Butters. On the switch to Farrell, and now out to the logo eastern side is Burn Jones. Absolute bull Butters, he can just barge through bodies and recovers in an instant. Logan Evans gets the footy. Centres his kick to Lai, fumbled, and then it ricochets off his shin on the bounce. He's got to make an effort against Norton, but he's given it away. Artie Jones says, thank you very much. Gathers, props, darts backwards. The handball out to Richards, searches out to the wide logo. And Baker will take it in front of the Bashir stand. It's a costly fumble from the youngster. Can the Dogs make the most of it? Kick up to Bontempelli, left half forward, probably just outside his range. Burne-Jones stands 55 out. Bontempelli. Low. Flares it up towards English. Didn't have anyone near him. The biggest man in the 50 had an eternity to take that mark. Bontempelli, silver service. Tim English gets a set shot, 25 out.
And poor old Jordan Sweet got caught napping on that occasion, was running next to him, but the kick inside 50 from Bontempelli, almost a set play.
He's the man you want with the footy when you're setting up any sort of lead. Darts it onto the chest of his ruckman, and Tim English now gets a crack. Starts on the paint of 50. English trots, leans back, and misses wide right. Minor score for the Bulldogs. Their lead is 14 points, time on in the second term on ABC Sport.
Big let off there. Farrell brings it in, short to Butters. Goes the run of Farrell. Handball to Aaliyah, cleaner this time to Evans. They're working it out by hand. Can he hit this next target? He does. Out on the wing. Important one to to Berry it was. He goes to Farrell. Marked under pressure. The switch is on now. They can raffle it between Butters and Lai. Instead, Butters marks, handballs to Ware. Draws the opponent, flicks it out to Lai. He's going to go inside the forward 50, just too much on that one. And Bontempelli had worked his way back. Just couldn't get the connection, Josh Franco.
No, he couldn't. No, poor option, poor kick. Tried to kick it on the outside of his right boot, but not the kick and not the option.
This is going to be perfect from Bontempelli. He ran up the spine and it wasn't. Short to Kennedy. Moraes was there amongst a flurry of power players. He gets it out to McKinlay. Now to Berry. Screwing his kick to Burgoyne. Takes it straight in front, 40 out. Rode the contact as well, but managed to take the contested mark. Usually that exiting kick is so slick from the 6-time best and fairest winner, but Bontempelli with a rare error gives Port Adelaide a set shot.
What I will say, sorry, Lauren, was it Williams? I thought he actually could have impacted that aerial contest. Got caught on his heels, but thought he was an opportunity to bring that ball to ground then.
So the superstar dog bit off more than he could chew. And Burgoyne now gets a crack at a big sticks. Burgoyne misses to the left. Just faded late. Another minor score. We've had 3 of them in a row either side. The margin's 13 points. The Dogs' way. Another dicey kick. Bailey Dale. This time centimetre perfect to Richards. Shout out to you, Dennis. And wide to Fraser in defensive 50.
So the Bulldogs switch outer side of the ground. Butterick finds Richards. Defensive side of centre wing. Asked to play on. Will get on that left foot, that's for sure. They force him to the right-hand side. Do they force a turnover? Brought to ground by Burne-Jones. At the bottom of the pack, working hard was Berry. Tackled by Bontempelli. Will have a ball up at the forward corner of the centre square for the Dogs. Sweet pushes English out the way. Fetches a handball to McKinlay and then throws him out of the contest. They're looking for an advantage play, but it will come back to McKinlay. There's no dog on the mark, so he'll be able to stride forward. Goes short out wide to Butters. It's possession 8 for the quarter for the stand-in skipper. Plays on now. There's that little stab pass around his body, but that was too wide. Out of bounds on the full. And Bramble will take the free kick.
Over at the Gabba, the Lions by 43 in the third term. Time on there. So Brisbane kicked 4 unanswered in the second. They've had 7 of the last 9 goals. Boundary umpires coming together here thinking maybe this might be a boundary throw-in. And that's the way it's going to go.
I think Sweet must have just got his fingertips to it before it went over the line.
Now has to do the hard yards against English. Tossed in. He does win it down and was wrestled away from it by Tim in the process. Free kick going Port's way, right half forward.
Funny what front position in a ruck contest can give you.
Jordan Sweet, low and hard, centering kick, waiting for it a while was Ware, cutting across McNeil, but he knocked it straight to Burgoyne, retreats with the handball to Watkins. Drew will check his kick, non-preferred side, did very well. Gets it to Jacob Ware, who wanted to move it on. I think he stepped off his line, but the umpire's going to let him go back and settle down. Set shot to come, 30 out, left forward pocket.
I agree with you, Aaron. I thought he came off his line there. They probably paid play on for less, so dodged a bullet on that occasion there, Ware.
Saw the option in Butters, wanted to use him. It probably wouldn't have been 15 anyway. So he gets a second chance. Jacob Ware on the left, straight line delivery, but never a chance. It was always headed through on the left-hand side. Another minor score. Western Bulldogs currently lead by 12. Time on in the second term. Friday night footy on ABC Sport.
Mentioned Butters a few times. 20 possessions for Port Adelaide. The next highest possession winner for Port is Burgoyne with 12. Riley Sanders is having a big day, 18, and Ed Richards 17 disposals so far.
Butterick asked to play on from the back pocket, kicks down the line, flies, brings it to ground, and a big tackle as they escort Will Lewis out over the boundary line near their bench. So Port trailing by 12 points. Final minute of this second quarter. Been a strange one. Some great footy, but some terrible stuff at the same time from both teams. Some skill errors, some turnovers. Horn Francis burst through from the contest to Farrell. Handballs to Ware. He was worried out of it by Fraser. Bad turnover because Bontempelli got it to Fraser, to Norton, who marks in the centre square. The Bulldogs players are streaming back. He gets it back to Fraser, steps inside it, centre half forward, long kick. Perfect kick. And Hines has nursed his opponent under the footy. And he marks. It's not Hines, it's Lewis again. Well, he's taken 2 marks at the top of the goal square, as will Lewis, and he's certainly going to make the power pay in the dying moments.
Saw Butters hit, I think it was Sweet, dropped one in the bin. Fraser on that occasion, that was a perfect kick and great forward craft there.
So on the halftime siren, Will Lewis pumps through his second goal, and a big building momentum moment for the Bulldogs. They extend it to a 3-goal margin at halftime. They're 9-5-59. Port 6-5-41.
Great story for Will Lewis as well. We can touch on it through the night, but SSP pickup, who turned 27 on Tuesday. This is just his 5th game tonight. He's the oldest active debutant out of the current playing crop. Wow. It's an incredible yarn. Now he's got 6 goals for the season. Just continues to deliver for the Western Bulldogs when they're a bit short in terms of their tall timber. So 2 for him alongside Aaron Norton, who doubled up in the first quarter. It might be a little mirror of the Fremantle game last week where he had 2 majors and then disappeared after the first term. Singles to Bontempelli, Kennedy, West, Fraser and Jones. Meanwhile for Port Adelaide, 2 to Georgiades and singles to Whitlock, Sweet. McKinlay had an absolute barn burner that could be a goal of the year contender. And Jack Watkins on return picks up his 3rd of the year in his 7th game as well. So pretty good arm wrestle between these two sides, who are battling for at least a temporary spot in the top 10 tonight. Feels like a defensive chess battle between the two. We'll see who can win out after the major break. Text line as well tonight, 0437 774 774. We're sharing it with the other game at the Gabba, where the Brisbane Lions are currently up over the Blues by 37 points in the 3rd quarter. And they're running out of time there as well, so heading towards the final break in that contest. If you want to hear the final term, ABC Listen is your home for it. Every game available to you, so it's either the AFL button or the AFL Extra button, depending on which game you're after. And tonight, the Gabba game is on the main one for you. Lauren Arnell, Josh Franco, your experts to break down that action-packed half of footy here at the Adelaide Oval on a gorgeous but chilly Friday night in the festival state. Loz and Josh, what have we learned about these two sides going head-to-head and blow for blow at the Adelaide Oval?
Yeah, Aaron, we mentioned just at the back end of that quarter, it was an unusual quarter of footy. It felt like at times it was hard to get a read on exactly what was going on and not a real flow in the game. But what I will say out of that first half is the team that's been willing to work harder and get their hands dirty at both ends of the ground, I think, has easily been the Bulldogs. Their structure defensively, their communication to set the ground, Josh, for me has been really impressive from where we sit. It's been It's been awesome to watch. And then the willingness to spread offensively and hit width has really opened up the ground for the Doggies when they've had the footy in their back half. And you've seen guys like Sanders benefit from that. He's had 18 disposals in that first half. And Ed Richards, we know how good he is, but I think there's been too many Bulldogs, far more Bulldogs willing to work harder than the Port Adelaide players. And Butters, in terms of winning the ball, 20 disposals, and as I said, late in the quarter, next best being Jace Burgoyne. There's just not enough work rate, I don't think, and I'm enjoying watching what the Bulldogs do when they do win the footy. Wherever they are on the ground, their mids spit forward and spit hard, and the Port mids can't keep up.
No, they can't. And you're talking, as you said, Butters, the 20 disposals. He's not getting a lot of support in there. Wines hardly touched the footy. Willem Drews just had the 9 disposals to half-time, so he's a one-man band at the moment. But the area of concern, and it does relate back to the way that the Western Bulldogs were able to defend the ground, Port Adelaide have only gone inside 50 18 times. You can't win games of footy. They were under siege last week. I think it was 60 inside 50s against in the showdown, and it's heading that way as well. So, as we said at half-time, the Western Bulldogs have gone in 31 times for 9 goals, 5. Port Adelaide just the 18 times. So you double that, 36 for the game is nowhere near what they need it to be. And you're also right in terms of the Western Bulldogs' ability to go. So when they turn the footy over and they get speed on the ball and their legs through the middle of the ground, they look really threatening ahead of the ball.
And they've got such unicorns in their offence too. When you look at English, Burning, Visentini and Sweet, it almost looks unfair. And then you've got Bontempelli, who's, 190 plus, who's so good in the air and so good at ground level. And when those guys spit forward, there's not many players in the competition that can go with them. And I think the Bulldogs know the tricks they have up their sleeve and they're going through them. And it's, I guess for me, it's you always want to back your game style in, Josh, and you want to say to the Port Adelaide players at half-time, we back you in. But what they're doing right now isn't working. And the chip game that you've mentioned in their back half, they haven't been able to break through that organised Bulldogs defence. And full credit to the Doggies. Like, I think other teams would have crumbled with what Port are trying to do offensively, but the Bulldogs are so organised and so willing to work quickly on that turnover. It's like, what's the message if you're the coach, Josh? Are you suggesting... Because I'm like, the next bit you go is if you're not chipping it around, do you go faster and down the line, but then at the same time English is beating you there, or do you go too quick for the ruck and try and back in a Whitlock down the line and get Georgiades more involved in the game? Try and play faster out of your back half.
Well, I think in the end, as you said, if you talk about the Western Bulldogs' ability to defend the ground, eventually if you miss a target, then the Western Bulldogs are sweating on that as well, and once they get that turnover, they go. Whatever it is, whether it is getting a bit of territory by going long down the line or looking to go a bit quicker with some handball receives and take more risk with ball in hand, but at the moment it's just not working for Port Adelaide. And we keep saying, I said it only a few minutes ago, that if you're only getting 18 inside 50s, something's not working with your ball movement. And you can say that the Western Bulldogs are defending the ground well. Yep, we'll give them credit for that. But in terms of offensively, Port Adelaide's ability to move the ball, it's just not happening.
I think it's a good chance for Josh Carr to show how Port Adelaide has evolved, because in the past Ken Hinkley has been accused of being one-dimensional, and that when their ball movement was locked down they couldn't find a response. Maybe it's a chance for Josh to say, look, here's plan B, we'll figure out a way through it, because the kick mark uncontested brand has worked for the first 2 months. Now they might need another weapon. And
there's a strong argument for it. One of the key stats in terms of stats that correlate with winning games, one of them is metres gained, and the Bulldogs are up for 400 to 500 metres gained already in this game, and Josh has mentioned a number of times through the call that Port Adelaide are handballing way more than we're used to. So it's like you do have to change a little bit of the message and tweak your game style, and I think if you can simplify it and look to take more metres by foot, it should put those Bulldogs defenders who are short-changed right now under more pressure.
And if you keep overusing the ball by hand, you're inviting pressure from the opposition, and eventually you're going to turn the footy over. And I think the other thing as well, in terms of marks, so the Western Bulldogs have had 58 marks to half-time, Port Adelaide only 51, but it doesn't feel like they're overusing the ball and not getting a bit of territory in the way that they want to move the Western Bulldogs. But as we said, Port Adelaide, they just seem really stagnant with ball in hand, and they look a little bit lost all at sea with the way that they actually want to move the footy.
Have you thought about Marcus Bontempelli tonight, just before we wrap up? Because I haven't been able to watch him in back play while the action's happening, but last week you could see at times where he was struggling to chase down opposition players. That was really what was hurting him. Is he looking all right tonight?
I think he looks all right. Yeah. No, I think he looks all right. What are we? He's had 14 disposals. He's kicking at 75% efficiency, but he hasn't looked hampered at all by whether it's a sore heel or a sore knee. He looks like
which
he's
is
okay.
amazing. So he's got the strapping on the knee, he's got the bruised heel. Damien Barrett referred to him today as John Wick. He could fall down 100 flight of stairs and he'd be able to get back up. He's just incredible the way that he continues to persevere through this season when he's absolutely wounded. And I was going to say, just from what I've seen in the gameplay, he looked like a normal Bont to me. So it's nice to know that that's been reflected from the experts as well. Western Bulldogs by 18 at the major break. They lead 9-5-59 to Port Adelaide 6-5-41. And a little score check at the Gabba as well. It is nearly three-quarter time there. And the Lions lead by 26. A little bit of a late surge from the Blues. Wondering if maybe they can make a game of it. They've kicked the last 4 goals against the Lions in the third term, but they've still got a bit of a mountain to climb. We'll keep you up to date with it. But if you do want to hear the game, ABC Listen is your home through the AFL button. Plenty of footy news coming your way. Well, the fallout from last night. What's been happening in the world today. Some discussion around Tyson Stengel's contract at the Cats. We'll get into it in a moment's time. But for now, on ABC Local Radio, Sport Digital and ABC Listen, we can get the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
ABC News. Good evening, I'm Noni Edwards. A lawyer representing a woman charged with terror-related offences says she's likely experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder. Janai Safar was taken into custody at Sydney International Airport last night after arriving on a flight from Doha. Pablo Vinales has the latest details.
Janai Safar appearing via audio-visual link from the Silverwater Correctional Facility as her legal team made an application for her release. That was formally refused by the judge today, her lawyers arguing that there were exceptional circumstances in her case. Defence lawyer Michael Ainsworth pointing to Ms Safar's 9-year-old son and saying that they both likely suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder and have serious medical issues that need to be attended to as a matter of urgency because of what he called were the truly horrific conditions that they were exposed to.
The NT government is expecting to announce an independent review into the child protection system next week following the death of Kumanjai little baby in Alice Springs. With the details, here's Tilda Collings.
Today's announcement comes just days after Minister Carl announced she'd stood down 3 Child Protective Department staffers in relation to an investigation into circumstances surrounding Kumanjai little baby prior to her alleged abduction and alleged murder. Now, while we don't know the exact specifics of this review yet, Minister Carl has said it will be wide-ranging. It'll look at the culture, the policies and the laws of child protection services in the Northern Territory. We also know it will be conducted by an independent person or body who the government has confirmed is an expert in domestic and family violence.
A Jewish university student told the Royal Commission on Anti-Semitism and Social Cohesion senior leaders at her uni ignored complaints around incidents she believed were anti-Semitic. Mia Klein gave evidence to the Commission explaining that her and other members of the Australian Union of Jewish Students raised concerns to the ANU around language and incidents that made them feel unsafe. Ms Klein said the university did not accept the group's view that those events were anti-Semitic.
No senior university official would ever say to a student from any other minority community, no, what you're feeling is not actually suffering against your people.
Victoria's Education Minister says allegations of abuse at an alternative primary school in Melbourne's inner north are deeply concerning. The ABC revealed last week that multiple students and parents at the Fitzroy Community School have complained about the school's use of physical force since the 1990s and as recently as 2022. Minister Ben Carroll says the education watchdog, the Victorian Registration and Qualifications Authority, is now actively investigating the school for the third time since 2021.
These allegations and what's occurred there is deeply concerning. The safety, the protection, the welfare of children at our schools is paramount.
The school's been contacted for comment. Looking overseas, Iranian state media says Iran's military have seized an oil tanker in the Gulf of Oman over an alleged attempt to disrupt Iranian oil exports. It says the Barbados-flagged tanker Ocean Koi was carrying Iranian oil and was attempting to exploit regional conditions. The reported seizure came after US and Iranian forces clashed in the Strait of Hormuz, which neighbours the Gulf of Oman. Experts say artificial intelligence data centres should be built in regional areas where there's better access to renewable energy and resources. The facilities have become increasingly controversial because of large amounts of electricity and water that they consume. As companies look to expand in Australia, the New South Wales government is holding an inquiry into their environmental and economic impact. Dr. Rob Nichols, a senior researcher in AI and trust governance at the University of Sydney, says regional centres powered by renewables are the best option.
One way of thinking about this is to look at where do we want to have data centres? Well, actually, we really want to have data centres in places where there can be a significant contribution of renewables to powering the data centres.
To sport, in US basketball, Oklahoma City Thunder have taken a 2-0 lead in their NBA Best-of-7 Western Conference semi-final series against the Los Angeles Lakers. Oklahoma won Game 2 at home, 125-107, with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scoring 22 points. You're up to date with the latest from ABC News.
Guy Montgomery is back with a new assistant.
Sam Campbell. I'll take the job. What is the job?
The new season of Guy Montgomery's Guy Mont Spelling Bee. Wednesday nights on ABC TV and ABC iView.
This is the 2026 AFL Premiership season with ABC Sport.
Dogs by 12, Port's 50, tossed in. Sweet takes it out of the ruck, turns into the bont tackle, got it out. Butters, Hollywood handball, over his head to Wines. Now Berry, Port Adelaide surging. The power through McKinlay, sells the candy, balls, check side. Extraordinary. Ewan McKinlay shows some tricks.
So Fraser had a night out here earlier in the season against the Crows. There's a chance to hit the scoreboard here in the second term from 45 metres out. Hits it nicely and straight through the big sticks.
He starts in front of the Wanganeen stand. The young lad out of Shepparton, Jack Whitlock, with a meaty strike. It'll be close. He's squeezed it in.
English, clever knock down to Richards, gets the handball away to Fraser, kicks towards the top of the goal square. Flying over the top, big grab. Aaliyah thought he was going to gobble it up. Instead, Lewis flies and marks on his chest. Lewis makes him pay. He was the only one that flew at the footy, and he gets his just rewards. So, on the halftime siren, Will Lewis pumps through his second goal, and a big building momentum moment for the Bulldogs. They extend it to a 3-goal margin at halftime.
The AFL on ABC Sport.
On radio.
ABC Sport Digital Radio.
And ABC Listen.
Been a cracking contest here at the Adelaide Oval. The Western Bulldogs by 18 at the major break, 9-5-59 to Port Adelaide, 6-5-41. Defensive masterclass between these two sides. It's been a tough arm wrestle. We'll see if it can break open in this second half. Zach Butters putting on a show in what is the clash between his current club and potentially his future one. 20 touches, 13 uncontested, and 223 metres gained. That being said, the Dogs are finding answers. Marcus Bontempelli, albeit on one leg, has 14 touches and 5 inside 50s and a goal as well. Riley Sanders stepping up to the plate with 18 and a couple of goals to Will Lewis, who continues to be a very late blooming prodigy for the Western Bulldogs after being picked up in the pre-season. Miles Bergman with a bit of distress as well. Reports from half-time that it is a big toe that he's dealing with. Hasn't been ruled out of the game yet, but hopefully he can recover and play on, because he's had persistent foot injuries through really the last couple of years, and most recently a nerve problem in his foot in the off-season that really hindered his start to the campaign. So hopefully he'll be good to go in this second half and be at his full strength. That being said, as I kind of watch them warm up, I'm not seeing him out there. So we'll keep an eye out for that. Vicky Schwartz downstairs, Aaron Bryans and Tom Wilson calling the action for you, alongside the former Port Adelaide coach, premiership winner Lauren Arnell, and the All-Australian midfielder and 4-time Showdown medalist Josh Franco. Lions by 20 at the start of the fourth quarter against Carlton. So the Blues kicked the last 5 of the third to really make a game of it. Brisbane were soaring away. Maybe we get a little bit of a late thriller at the Gabba. 11-11, 77 plays 8-9, 57 there. The news out of last night, Alex Pearce has suffered a low-grade MCL. after their win over the Hawks, so he will miss the game against Essendon next week, and we're uncertain about the length of how long he'll be out for. In terms of the Hawks, a bit of carnage for them, so Connor Nash with a concussion, Tom Barras with a hamstring, Jack Gunston in a moon boot as well as they play the D's next Saturday. Text line tonight 0437 774 774. Some news coming through as well around Tyson Stengel. So Xander Maguire reporting for Channel 7 that the Geelong Football Club is in negotiations to amend his contract and current salary, given that he has been AWOL, hasn't been seen at the club in months, and a lot of their senior officials cannot track him down. So there is potentially a discussion there about a way to get him out of what is a pretty exorbitant contract for a guy who isn't turning up for his duties. And this is the awkward part. We saw it with Jamara Ugle-Hagan last year, where the AFL might need to eventually step in and say, look, this is the mandate. And we know that there's mental health and maybe it just requires you checking in once a week or something. But we've now had 2 players in the space of 2 years, Lauren, disappear from their football clubs when they're on big money, and it puts the clubs in an awkward position.
Yeah, it's a really, really challenging one because we've seen the consequences of different things and what's required for mental health support, and you can only assume that that's required in this case. And so you hope that everyone is okay, and then at the same time there's obviously some things that need to be discussed, particularly between Tyson Stengel's manager and the footy club.
Josh, you're coaching at the moment. What do you do if you've got a senior player who just isn't there?
Sample level, you probably say go and play somewhere else, but at AFL level you can't do that.
I think that's the thing.
It's hard.
I feel for Tyson because he's obviously going through something personally, but all you have to do is pick up the phone and say, hey, I can't come in right now, or I'm battling or whatever. Just let them know you're okay. But to cut contact,
that's hard.
When you're on near $1 million a year.
And the thing is, obviously their well-being's the priority, but it's a tough situation.
There's got to be a minimum requirement.
Yeah, I think so. I think it just wouldn't be anywhere in any other workplace. I don't think you could do what's happening.
And that's also the nature of this industry, where the manager becomes the middle person and the middle ground, and so you hope that they're able to at least provide the support that maybe is not happening because it's not at the footy club.
All right, back to the footy, and the big news is Miles Bergman is out. Hasn't come out of the race, and he is done for the night for Port Adelaide, who are currently trailing by 18 points. Second half underway on ABC Sport. Here's Tom Wilson.
Big second half. Sweet knocks it away towards Richards, and Burgoyne flew in off the wing, copped a bump, and then he's tackled. He's hoping for a high one there, but we'll have a ball up.
Did it well, Burgoyne. Just held his line, didn't he?
Tough at the contest.
Yep.
Sweet knocks it forward to Richards, to Jason Horne-Francis. Strides towards the 50 on the outside of the boot, looking for Durden. Couldn't quite reach him, but he knocks it to the favour of McKinlay. He's already kicked a great goal tonight. But this one's away to the right, minus score. He goes to 6-6-42. That's the power. The Bulldogs 9-5-59 early in this third term.
I think you can make some safe assumptions from what's been said at halftime in the Port rooms. An aggressive start offensively from Port Adelaide.
Dale to Caulfield. Short pass exiting defensive 50 to Butterick, who's looked really good on return. We know the Dogs love how accurate he is with his kick. Speaking of, that had to be precise. Wide 45, low and hard into Bailey Williams, just the required 15. Williams all the way out of Brighton, which is a beautiful suburb here in Adelaide. Heads down the line. Flying early was Evans, and he landed hard. He stays down. The Port players check on him, but the Dogs go. Lewis hands it to Jones. Fraser into the 50 to who? Straight down towards Josh Lai. Aaron Norton was nowhere near him, so the kick wasn't really intended for his big man. I think he just went to try and get it in. Port Adelaide get it back out of there.
Strange, wasn't it?
A dreadful kick.
Yeah, it was.
Basically a 3-on-1 in favour of the Bulldogs. Huge let off for Port. Evans tries to break through the tackle. He can't. Fraser certainly lifted through this midfield in that second term and into this second half. Wins the free kick, 70 from goal for the Bulldogs. Fraser plays on. Flatter ball inside the 50. Went through everyone. Fell to Norton at the back. Handballs to English. Over the top to Hines. Can Lewis kick a third? Just pulled away to the left-hand side. It was Gallagher in the end who had the flying shot. Well, those shaved head Bulldogs all look the same up forward. Minus score. They extend the margin back out to 18 points.
Luke Beveridge has got the pet groomer for the Dogs.
It does.
Short kick out of defensive... Oh, I was going to say out of defensive goal square. Farrell to Lockie Jones. Just looks a little lost as to what to do here. And this has been Port's problem all night. That second kick out. He sends it long towards the logo. Sitting underneath it was Selwood. Out the back was Buslinger. He was holding Vicentini. Free kick to Port. Vicentini wants to go. High ball drop for the big man. The ruckman placed it well, but cutting across. Intercept grab from Selwood.
He's been impressive tonight. Some really good reads defensively and an overhead mark in an awkward position. Really well done.
Mid-season pickup, and he's 12th for intercepts in the league, considering he's barely played 10 games. He kicked down the line. There's a whistle as Norton copped a little shove in the air from Malia, enough that the umpire pinged him. Norton up towards left half forward. Jones backtracking with Butters, brought it to ground. Richards picks it up, handed it to Bont. Knew he had 3 to beat, so he paddles it forward and then becomes the tackler. Strong and hard on Logan Evans. Gee, the game sense from Bont is so good.
How good was that? And he caught it beautifully, just tapped it. He knew pressure was coming, didn't take possession, and great tackle as well.
Sweet straight down to Butters. Quick kick out of defence. Fisted back in by that man Selwood. Hasn't missed a game all year. Buslinger does well to Gallagher. Took on the tackle of Richards. Got it away just in time. Good pressure here from Port, but they were clean enough, the Dogs. To English, to Gallagher. Throws it on the left boot. Up towards Artie Jones and Josh Lai. Jones gets it out over the boundary line. We'll have a throw in left half forward for the Doggies. They're up by 3 straight kicks.
Lions by 21, 7 minutes into the 4th against the Blues. Goal for goal in that final quarter. Tossed in. English cuts in front of Sweet, taps it straight to Bontempelli. No look, handball was excellent to Gallagher. He's dumped hard, shot the handball forward, but Port was waiting with the wall. Farrell to Butters, then Burne-Jones. Richards puts on the Jets. Not a lot ahead. The Dogs are streaming back. He'll kick to Georgiades. Karmas gets a fist in. Georgiades goes the toe and gets the slide tackle. And sticking out a boot was Gallagher. They both tried to toe it. Dogs win out. Rolled out wide. Williams uses Gallagher. Then Karmas tries to go towards Sanders. Butters nearly closed in. Ball pops back to Sanders. Races away to right half back, and Dale has some time now as he lowers the eyes. Passes short to Williams. They've got a bit of overlap here. He'll release Baker. Runs through centre wing on the eastern side. Central kick. Lewis drills it towards English, and Sweet gets back in time. Takes the intercept grab.
Tell you what, missed opportunities from the Bulldogs.
Sweet's kick out towards Burgoyne. He got a fist in. Jones did well. Evans lays a tackle there on Bailey Williams. Back to Burgoyne. And Whitlock takes the mark, defensive side of centre wing. No one really wants to grab the game by the scruff of the neck just yet. And that kick towards Butters was a poor one. Butterick takes the intercept mark for the Bulldogs. Plays on. Kicks down the line. And misses another target, but a clean ball. Sweet. Norton socketed off the ground straight into the lap of Aaliyah. Farrell has to gather in the middle of the ground. Thrown off it by Fraser. Cleverly gathered by Sanders, and might just be holding on for too long. Farrell got rid of it just in time, and Fraser just held on too long. So Port win the free kick. Offensive side of the centre square. They're trailing by 18
I don't
points.
like free kicks that are paid if you fumble the ball in the tackle and get caught holding the man. Don't like them.
Farrell down the line looking for Whitlock. Flew in front of Dale and had enough of the footy to be paid the mark. Too far out to score. Whitlock has a long run up. Steps through Dale. Drives it towards the 50. Georgiades! He was bursting out of the blocks. He heard the gun and fired. Takes the mark as he races through the pack. Man on the mark's going to be 40 out. He's got a slight angle to the left.
Definitely more aggressive Port Adelaide in this third quarter offensively. 13 kicks, 6 handballs is a different story to what we saw in the first half. And it's paying off for them.
Already with 2 goals on the night. He's got a 31-game goal-kicking streak and a 9 or 10-game now 2-goal kicking streak. Mitch Georgiades in rare form. And that was never in doubt. 3 on the night. Margins down to 12. Port 7-6-48. The Bulldogs 9-6-60. We've played 6 minutes in the third term for Friday night footy on ABC Sport.
Well, you keep marvelling at this Mitch Georgiades and the influence that he can have on games at this level. And just looking at the replay behind the goals, Karmas just paid the price for not getting some body on him. And if you don't get body on Georgiades and let him run and jump at the footy, he's almost impossible to stop. And went back in a great finish. Much needed goal for the Power.
Just have to wonder if the Bulldogs are going to rue couple of these missed opportunities.
And that's a good call because, yeah, you're right. There's some of their entries inside 52 that stand out where they've just laced Port Adelaide players out, where they've had clear teammates in the open but just miskicked and have butchered it.
Would have buried it. But we're back to a 12-point game. Back in the middle of the ground. English knocks down towards Bontempelli. Just rolls past Wines. Handballs out towards Bramble. It's got Richards for company who lays a strong tackle. Flicks a handball to Gallagher. Burgoyne wanted the free kick. Play on, says the umpire. Kennedy over the top to Bontempelli. Flicks it over again to Hines. Kicks inside the forward 50, but good pressure from Butters. Caused the turnover. Josh Lai marks.
Just see a shift from Port's mids and their work rate out of stoppage there. It looks like Willem Drew's going with Bontempelli, not just inside stoppage, but then on the spread as well. Massive impact there.
Lai sets it up. Bontempelli outnumbered, nearly clunked it. Ripped out the last minute mark, not paid. Burgoyne shot the handball wide. Vicentini left it behind. Tackle laid. Butters, we pulled up off the deck. Ball up broadcast side. Dogs by 12. Sweet down. Pinballs its way out. Gallagher off balance. Tries to turn it up towards the 50. Front position was Lockie Jones, and all over him was Will Lewis. Free kick going the way of Port Adelaide, right half back. Jason Francis has just come in off the bench and he's pleading for it. Jones spots him, but he had to be precise, flirting with the boundary line. And either way, if it was just over, coming late was Gallagher to really clean him up. So it should be a free kick.
So that's right. So it was out of bounds on the full, which the boundary umpire paid, but the field umpire said you've punched him in the face.
He's just clobbered him. Horne-Francis is fine and takes his kick. On the instep uses Burgoyne, who's true centre wing. Just a little reckless there from young Harvey Gallagher. Burgoyne to Moraes. Just low and short, Port Adelaide slowly working their way forward. Ollie Wines now wants to pull the trigger. He'll set it up 30 from home. On they march, juggling Sweet. Knocked away late. Front and square Sanders. Clean in traffic. Zigs and zags and gets it back towards Karmas. He uses Buslinger. Trots his way across the defensive goal square. The kick is miserable. Oh, that is diabolical. He's kicked it straight down the throat of Logan Evans. Again, no dogs near him. Luke Beveridge's men here to go to Specsavers. They're struggling tonight to find their teammates.
They are. Kicking efficiency this quarter, 41%. And that's obvious to the naked eye. Butchered many opportunities on that occasion. Terrible.
Logan Evans in foreign territory. Gives it everything from 50. What a hit! Lucky Logan from downtown. Fourth goal of his career. Maybe he should be there more often. What a hit. Margin's just a goal. Bulldogs 9-6-60, Port Adelaide 8-6-54. They've kicked the last two. And it's 10 minutes into the third term on ABC Sport with Lauren Arnell and Josh Franco.
Talked a lot in the first half about Bulldogs being blue collar and wanting to work harder, and this start of this third quarter, I know we've mentioned a lot about how poor the Doggies have used the ball by foot, but what I'm seeing is Port Adelaide's pressure on the ball is significantly higher than the first half, and they're forcing these errors. It's not just Bulldogs being poor by foot, it's the pressure at the source, and then Logan Evans and his fellow defenders actually beating the Bulldogs to width. So the Doggies are trying to go back out the other side, and their early work rate and their early reads predicting where the Bulldogs are going to go is what earned them that goal.
Voice of inaugural Port Adelaide coach Lauren Arnell seeing it so well here at Adelaide Oval. Port back to within 6 points.
Port Adelaide 3 inside 50s in this third quarter for 3 shots on goal, 2 goals won.
The only 2 goals of the quarter. Sweet on his hands and knees, tried to get it to Wines, but ended up in the hands of Fraser. Goes to Butterick, out wide to Bailey Williams. His defensive side of centre wing. Handballs back to Selwood. A high ball to Williams. He's able to keep it in. A lot of pressure here from Port Adelaide. Sweeping handball to Sanders. Has done well in traffic so far. Handballs it off, gets it to Butterick on the left boot inside the forward 50. Norton through his hands. Fell out to Aliir. Flicked a handball to Jason Horne-Francis at left half back. Goes long down the line looking for Whitlock. Created a contest. At the front was Richards to Wines. Moraes, they're working their way through. Richards, quick kick forward up to centre half forward. Durden creates a contest. Drew knocked it towards Vicentini. Was pulled off the footy by Bontempelli. Play on, says the umpire. The Bulldogs skipper at centre half back. Kicks it out towards the boundary line, but he was given a free kick as he was dealt with as he kicked it.
How good's his game been?
Huge.
Bontempelli, 5 disposals in this third quarter. Hugely influential player.
I know there are times where we think, Nick Dacos, Marcus Bontempelli, because they're in Victoria, that's why everyone says they're so good. But then you see them in the flesh and you go, he's a superstar.
There he is again.
English down the line. It's a 5-on-5. Throw a blanket over them, and Horn Francis wraps up Lockie Smith and will get a ball up.
I think what separates him as well is just his game sense. Just some of the knock-ons tonight, just been outstanding.
Sweet wins it down against the second gamer. Moraes gets the handball out, extracts it to Drew. They're looking hot here. Port Adelaide running fast and thick. Vicentini to Berry, bangs it into the 50. The two Dogs defenders collide as Karmas comes together with Selwood. Bustley is now in a world of hurt. He's set upon, and they won't pay holding the ball. It'll be tossed up, 40 from home. Joe Barry probably needed to use his options better. They might get another crack here. Vicentini down. Georgiades fumbled. He tried to race away with the pill and left it behind. And we'll go again, same spot.
Umpire throws it up. Fraser gathers. Kicks a high ball out of defence into the centre square. Fisted down. Gathered by Burne-Jones, but he's wrapped up by two Dogs, including Riley West, and will have a ball up. So 6 points the margin. Port have the 2 goals of the third term. Fisted forward by Smith. Gathered by Fraser. Handballs to Kennedy. Out wide to Dale. He's under a bit of pressure, but did well to get it back to Selwood at centre half back. He kicks out towards the logo and just kicked it straight to Lockie Jones, who was in a better position than Lewis.
That was great pressure from Jack Watkins there to force that kick.
Up towards Burne-Jones at the logo. Pulled off the footy without it. Play on, says the umpire. The Dogs are running. Hines and Sanders, 6 and 9. Off to Sanders now. Kicks inside the forward 50, and that's no good for Tim English. Malia takes the mark, and they're going to want 50 here, the Port fans. And they're going to get it.
Home ground advantage, if that is anything, isn't it?
That was.
You can only ask, I guess.
6th mark of the night for Aaliyah, and Joel Fraser's trying to come off, but the kick is going to go in his direction. Horn Francis wasn't expecting it either. Slides across, can't take it. Fraser toes it up towards half forward. Coming out to meet it was West, but he's tackled by Lai. Port Adelaide win it back. Horn Francis towards the centre circle. They're surging now, the power. Watkins back to Horn Francis. What was that handball? Get 3 to beat, and they're going to get another relief through the umpiring.
The noise of affirmation.
Will Lewis's tackle deemed illegal, and Jack Watkins gets out of jail. We head to Logan Evans. So the Joel Fraser one, I think he had some knee-on-knee contact at the centre bounce. Just fell on his haunches. It's really proppy. We'll get Vicky to watch him. Butters gets the footy. Inside 50, Georgiades. Clattered in too late by Bustlinger carelessly. No 50. Gee, they're on the edge of their seat now, the Power faithful. They're right into this contest. And this will level the game. Mitch Georgiades will need to produce something special. He's right on the fence. 25 out.
This is set up for him, isn't it? He kicks this, it'll bring the house down.
Mitch Georgiades tries to thread the needle. Kicks from 35. Oh my goodness! It's hit the post late. Oh man, that is a coat of paint for Mitch Georgiades. Almost had 4. The crowd are about to go into bedlam. Instead it's a behind, and it's the Dogs by 5. They've only got the 1 behind in this term, the Western Bulldogs, and they need a response.
Just holding on, but they still have the lead. Up the line towards Vicentini, and he's missed the handball in Burgoyne and just came off his hand, so lucky there. Just a couple of handballs.
Tom, here's a stat for you as well. Intercept marks, Port Adelaide have had 6 this quarter. They're all defenders, highlighting the inefficiencies inside forward 50 for the Bulldogs.
So the 2 young rucks at it. Vicentini straight down to Burgoyne. Quick kick forward up towards Horn Francis, rode by Dale. Handballs to Sanders, back to Dale. He's got 2 Port players for company. Back to Selwood at right half back. A high ball, a very high ball down the line. Artie Jones flew early, and it fell back to Farrell, and his kick was partially smothered. Or no, just kicked straight out of bounds on the full. So an error there, unusual for Farrell. So Matt Kennedy will have it for the Bulldogs. Offensive side of centre wing. up the line, and Jones has flown early again. This time they'll pay the free kick. Hands straight in the back of Farrell. He'll get it at left half back. Port trail by 5 points. 17.5 minutes gone, third term.
The Lions have snuffed out the Blues comeback. They're up by 5 goals now. Time on in the fourth. So you think Brisbane get the job done at the Gabba? Tight game here at the Adelaide Oval. Kick in the direction of Burgoyne. Dale got front position but couldn't take it. Kennedy clean at ground level. Handball back towards Bustlinger, who kicks up to English. Might have been touched on the way through. Mark not paid. He tries to get it to Sanders, who walks it over the boundary line.
I reckon you make your own luck, and Port Adelaide have had a huge shift in their game style in this quarter. They've gone from a high handball game in the first half to now 31 kicks, 14 handballs, forcing the Doggies to 10 more handballs than kicks in this quarter.
Added to the resume for Josh Carr, emotionally mature, adaptable, contested ball. He's looking pretty good, the new coach. Tossed in, free kick out of the stoppage. Riley Sanders gets it up against Watkins and wants to go. He blazes away. Into the 50 for the Bulldogs. 3-on-3, double fist from Lai. English, though, gets his head over the footy. Wins it out to Fraser. Handball chain to West. Bang! Turn into big trouble. Meeting the sandwich, free kick, Port Adelaide.
Port Adelaide defended that well then. Almost looked like they were out at times, but the pressure and tackling intent from the power defenders was outstanding.
It's almost a double team. Lockie Jones kind of was the hurdle, and then coming from behind was Moraes, and they just steamrolled him.
So Moraes goes out to Jones, kicks up the line, looking for Horn Francis. Fist in there from the Bulldogs' defence to Sanders, to Williams. Been proficient, hasn't he? Tonight, Sanders, and he's taken out over the boundary line, just forward of centre wing for the Dogs.
That's the shift there from Port Adelaide in this quarter. Normally, in the first half, they went the short chip, which Aaliyah was free on the boundary line, and instead, half their group's pointing long down the line, take metres.
So Visentini knocks it down towards Fraser. Worried out of it in the handball. Byrne Jones goes in, so does Horn Francis. Two double-barreled names. Watkins in there as well. So ball up centre wing. Smith knocks it forward for the Dogs. Butters just was trying to do too much. Ends up with Ware. Goes to Horn Francis. Up towards Whitlock. Strong. Up high with the grab. And he's paid the mark. Selwood not happy about that. Thought he fumbled it over the boundary line. So Port Adelaide have it. Short to Byrne Jones, who marks on the logo.
Looks back to Aaliyah, who takes it at the defensive edge. They'll continue the switch. Kane Farrell through centre half back. Dogs by 5 at the moment. Now up the spine, wanted the power. Farrell used Butters. Turns on his right. Gorgeous kick. Caressed it up towards Ware, who heads wide to Horn Francis. Takes it on the paint of 50. Didn't know what to do. Decides to take on Williams. Wrong choice. Looked left, went right. And in the end, he's pinged, holding the ball.
Just a miss kick from Ware as well. Horn Francis in metres of space.
Yeah. So the Dogs get away with one there. Bustling has got it at right half back, out of sight of the ground. Dogs yet to kick a major in this third term. Up down the line, goes through the hands of Lai. Aaliyah got a hold of it. Ware takes the mark from the quick kick. Runs onto his left foot, goes inside the forward 50 now. 3 Dogs fly. Waiting in the back was Buku Karmas under pressure. High ball, and it's going to work to Matt Kennedy. Lucky there. Strong grab from the veteran. Short to Fraser. He plays on through centre half back. Off to Richards. We know he can run the All-Australian. Takes a bounce. Flat left foot kick towards English. Makes it hard for him. Couldn't gather on the half volley. Byrne Jones does. Makes it hard for the other Jones in his team. But he gets it back to Butters. Short to Josh Lai at right half back.
Lai heads towards the scoreboard. Another mark for Aaliyah. Heads out to left half back. Jacob Ware. Now to Burgoyne.
This kick has to go forward.
Instead it goes wide on the 45. Moraes now looks up as he gathers the footy, and there's nothing ahead. So, as you said, Josh, they don't take the game on. The Bulldogs set up zonally, and that centre square is flooded with blue and red.
And this is what happens.
Aaliyah now heads to the broadcast side, and luckily Evans juggles the mark against Jones. He was in bad territory, and he's turned it over anyway. Played on and kicked it straight to Oscar Baker. Port would have been out there. Instead, the Western Bulldogs move it to the eastern side. Baker to Gallagher to Bramble. Now Selwood can go for a trot. The Peel Thunder product out of the mid-season draft takes 3 bounces. A nice Friday stroll, sends it into the 50 to English, and a late fist from Lai sends it into the front row scoreboard pocket. It is the Dogs by 5. Port Adelaide just reverting back to that first half frustrating ball movement.
They sure did, Aaron. Yep. Lateral sideways, not getting territory, not looking forward, and then ultimately paid the price, didn't they? With a turnover.
Boundary throw in. Visentini knocks it down to Ware. It's a quick kick out of defence is a high one. Sitting under it is Williams, and he takes the mark. So the Bulldogs have it again. Right half forward. Send in another inside 50. Plenty of power players back. Williams plays on now. Into a dangerous spot, but floating in front was the young ruck at Visentini. Plays on quickly looking for Berry. Baker creates a contest. Front on contact and a mark.
It's pretty smart from Baker there.
Berry.
He's taken Berry down to the ground because he knew if Berry continued his run, Porter out. It's a clever way to not give away 50.
And again, they've flooded the inside 45. So down the line goes Berry, 2-on-2 there, knocked to ground. Coming through, Fraser's happy to walk it over. Richards didn't really tackle him. They're asking their case. Fraser only had eyes for the benches.
Right in front of us.
Tossed into play, gets away with one. Hey, the Blues have kicked 3 in 3 minutes. There's 2 minutes to go and they're down 10. Could Brisbane blow this? If you want to hear it, ABC Listen AFL button. Tossed in. Tap comes down from Smith. Bontempelli held off the ball by Drew. Free kick coming for the 7-time All-Australian. Disposal number 20 for Marcus Bontempelli. Up to the 50. Fist comes from Alia, but it goes into the Dogs 50, or at least near to it. Artie Jones can't control it up against Zach Butters. Boundary throw-in, left half forward. As the Western Bulldogs by 5. We might have a couple of classics on Friday night again.
Certainly an arm wrestle here at Adelaide Oval. Just the 2 goals for the quarter. Both going Port Adelaide's way. So Sweet knocks it down towards Watkins, but Fraser sharked it. Handballs to Bontempelli, shrugs the tackle of Farrell. Kicks inside the forward 50, looking for Norton, who flew, trying to play for the free kick. No, nothing there from the umpire.
What was Norton doing?
Hasn't learned anything from 2 weeks ago, has he?
Madness.
No fear.
Was he just playing for the free?
Well, he certainly flew. I think I can see a Superman cape on there.
Oh, he did get a push from Lockie Jones, actually. That probably should have been a free kick.
Bontempelli roves out to Artie Jones, steps inside. Willem Drew wraps him up, holding the ball.
Folded him in half.
What a grip he has, Willem Drew. And Artie Jones, one too many steps.
Almost a quarter of missed opportunities for the Bulldogs, isn't it? 12 inside 50s for just the 1 point.
Poor exiting kick, though. Drew straight down the throat of Marcus Bontempelli, the worst man to give it to in a dangerous area.
He's been trying to tag him all quarter and he's giving him the ball straight back.
Here he goes, working his magic again as he guides it towards English, scouted by Logan Evans, who cuts in front to cut it off. So Port Adelaide in defensive 50, down 5. Brisbane have kicked 1 back. So with a minute to go, they're up 17. And the Lions had a little scare there, but they should get the job done at the Gabba. Ewan McKinlay looks for an exit. Front position, Wine, strong. Held his ground. A few Dogs caught behind him. He's at right half back. Called to move it on. Heads down the line. Couple of power players caught up in the backdrop and plenty of Dogs to mop it up. Floating into the hole. Selwood takes the uncontested grab. Bustlinger right next to him. Down the line, English. Outmarks 2 with the height. Hands it to Baker. And they'll run out of time, the Dogs. It was a nice late play. They've certainly had the ascendancy at certain stages around the ground, the Western Bulldogs. But for Port Adelaide, really a term where they dominated the inside 50s and couldn't really get the reward for effort. They end up kicking 2 goals to the Western Bulldogs behind. And the margin is just 5 heading into the final term. Port 8-7-55. The Bulldogs 9-6-60. Goal scorers in this cracking contest. 3 to Georgiades, singles to Whitlock, Evans, Sweet, McKinlay and Watkins. Meanwhile for the Bulldogs, 2 to Norton and Lewis, singles to Jones, Fraser, West, Kennedy and Bontempelli. We're going to sound like a broken record, but once again here at the Adelaide Oval, grandstand finish coming your way. It's going to the wire, Dogs by 5 for Friday night footy on ABC Sport.
Bet you didn't know we're the world's biggest gamblers.
Totally crippled my life.
Bingo!
I'm finding out why and if we really are the lucky country. Join me, Sean McAuliffe, Going for Broke.
Starts Tuesday, May 19 on ABC TV and ABC iView.
This is the 2026 AFL Premiership season with ABC Sport.
Mitch Georgiades in rare form, and that was never in doubt. 3 on the night. Margins down to 12. Logan Evans in foreign territory gives it everything from 50. What a hit! Lucky Logan from downtown. 4th goal of his career.
The AFL on ABC Sport.
On radio.
ABC Sport Digital Radio.
And ABC Listen.
Low scoring third term, but the Power faithful are pretty happy with it. They have closed the gap with 2 unanswered goals. And the margin is just 5 heading into the final term. The Western Bulldogs lead 9-6-60 to 8-7-55. Both these sides teetering on the edge of the top 10. Win tonight would temporarily move them into it. It's a big game. Port Adelaide under their new coach, trying to showcase they are not just a rebuilding club. And for the Western Bulldogs, early premiership favourites on a 4-game losing stretch, probably can't afford to drop another, or their season will be in jeopardy. Aaron Bryans, Tom Wilson calling the action for you. Pretty hard to predict how it ends from here, but would like to know the thoughts of Lauren Arnell and Josh Franco, because what a game we've had. Our experts tonight on ABC Sport. Loz, what's going to happen from here?
I think Port have shown in that quarter it's a pretty simple game. They held the Doggies to just the 1 behind in that whole quarter, and we talked endlessly about how many opportunities the Bulldogs did have. But I thought the pressure on the ball from Port and the aggression in offence caused a huge shift in their game, and I think they've found the secret sauce to win it. It's really like, how can you do that again for another quarter? We talked again in the first half about the kick-to-handball ratios, and in that quarter, Port Adelaide had 40 more kicks than they did handballs, which is a significant shift, Josh, in the way they were playing. And in alongside that, the Doggies had to handball 4 more times than kick, and so we're talking about their poor disposal, but actually the pressure on the footy when the Doggies had it forced them into some poor decisions. And I thought Port Adelaide have shown now the blueprint, and the question becomes, can you do it for another quarter while you've lost Bergman? I can't see why not.
Look, I agree with you. I think the only other thing, looking at the other side of the coin, was that Luke Beveridge would be pretty disappointed with their inability to hit targets inside their forward 50. They did have opportunities, and absolutely credit to Port Adelaide for creating that pressure and perceived pressure, but there's so many opportunities where you think they're almost going to get one, but they don't. And again, whether that's good defensively, but some of the times and some of the kicks inside forward 50 that the Western Bulldogs butchered. The only other area of concern, again, for Port Adelaide's perspective is they're still only going inside 57 times for the quarter. And I don't know. I don't know what it is. Is it because they're so efficient when they go in? They, 7 inside 50s for 4 scoring shots and 2 goals, but they're just not getting enough looks ahead of the ball.
I think some of it that is, I've probably hesitated to try and explain it throughout the game, but we've seen a lot of stoppages between the arcs and in Bulldogs forward 50, and when the Bulldogs have a stoppage in their forward 50, Port Adelaide are sending both wings in, and typically teams will send one wing, and so you'll end up with a +1. If Port win the ball in their D50 stoppage and they kick out to just a +1, you can typically compete with that, but they've sent both wings in, and so when they try and exit, you're down 2 down the line, and that's causing repeat entry for Western Bulldogs, which might be fluffing their stats a little bit. So tactically for me, I doubt they'll change it because they haven't changed it yet. It's just like, can you win enough stoppage between the arcs to force more time in front half? And I think then the Port Adelaide gain ascendancy in that sense.
Excellent analysis from Lauren Arnell, and never be afraid to do so, Loz. You can throw the coach's hat on any time. Funny, though, that Port Adelaide for the last 4 seasons have been a bottom 4 side for goal accuracy, and tonight they're making the most of their opportunities, so maybe it is a new look Port Adelaide outfit, Tom.
The other interesting thing was English basically played it forward that whole quarter, so they're trying to maximise that, and Josh, you touched on not being able to kick it well to him. I wonder if that was a pure tactic thing or was keeping him fresh for the last quarter?
Well, to me, he looked a little bit fatigued as well, and obviously he had his injury patch as well. I don't know has he had 1 or 2 games back in the side?
That's right, yep.
And so maybe they're protecting him in that third quarter, but didn't necessarily help their game style.
Certainly not. So he's going to go into the middle of the ground right on cue there, Lauren. So, yeah, fascinating one to watch because we saw Josh lie on him and jumping all over him. So we'll have a chance in the middle of the ground now.
Bit of good news for the Dogs, though. So they've got Carlton next weekend, who just lost to the Lions by 11 points, final siren at the Gabba. John Ralph reporting that James O'Donnell and Rory Lobb will be good to play next week, and Tom Liberatore is 2 weeks away. So might get some troops back over the next month, but they've got to get the job done tonight.
They do. Absolutely they do, Aaron.
5-game losing stretch. Doesn't matter if you're missing your star players. It's enough to dent your season and your top 4 hopes. Port Adelaide are within a sniff, though. And you feel like this could be another classic here at the Adelaide Oval. We've just recovered from the showdown. What have we got left in the tank here in the great state of South Australia? The Bulldogs by 5, 9-6-60 to 8-7-55. Here we go. Lock yourselves in. Big final quarter on ABC Sport. Sweet flies over the top of English, wins it down. Richards was in front of Butters, entangled. He got a toe up towards half forward. Racing up in a clean scoop from Evans. Good gather. Rode the contact of Jones and gets the handball to Burn Jones. Now Farrell out to Horn Francis. Kicks up through the corridor. Coming out to meet it is Bustlinger. Wants to go quickly on the turnover. Takes the intercept mark and hands it to Bontempelli. 1-2 with Kennedy. The Bont into the 50. West all alone, 40 out. You can hear a pin drop off that turnover. Set shot to come for the Bulldogs.
Maybe the message from Beveridge was give it to Bontempelli through the middle of the ground because he hit targets.
What a star.
Again, under pressure, but just noticed and saw West all on his own and was good enough to find him. Good players, under pressure, make good decisions.
Riley West, the son of a gun. Greatness in his DNA. Kicks from 45 to the Riverbank stands. Can't really channel it. Cross the face, minus score to the right. Dogs by a flat goal. Early stages, final term here at the Adelaide Oval.
Farrell brings it back in through Burn Jones. Short to lie, right half back. Kicks long down the line. Does the power young gun. Up towards Whitlock, almost took the mark, gathered, gets it to Horn Francis, flicks it out to McKinlay, waiting for Joe Richards to turn around so he can handball it to him. Now the kick goes inside the forward 50 up towards Georgiades, and doing well was Selwood. What a game he's having, fisted over the behind line, minus score 8-8-56, Bulldogs 9-7-61.
Another strong contest from Selwood. He's been so impressive in the air.
They found a couple there with him and Bustlinger. Both don the headbands. Both handy interceptors and spoilers in the back half. Bailey-Dale plays on. Marches his way out of defensive 50. Runs a good 40. Waits his kick well. Right on the boundary line, rather. Bailey Williams takes it. Turns on a dime. Up towards the logo. A little bit hot for West. Knocked away by Butters. Horn Francis gets it to Watkins. Turns through the centre square. Sets it up into the 50. Gee, it was a tough one for Whitlock. He had Bailey-Dale to deal with behind and in front cutting it off. Nice intercept grab there for Caulfield. He'll switch it out towards the broadcast side for the Western Bulldogs, although the kick from Selwood's a little long. Out on the full port, get another crack.
Yep, too much on it for Gallagher. So Burgoyne in front of the Bulldogs bench. Was able to play on. He was asked to play on, and his kick was partially smothered. Fell on the lap of Farrell, who gets it inside the forward 50, but English takes the mark. So
turnovers at the moment, isn't it?
I was about to say some strange errors. Yeah. They're not switched on, Josh, but Bailey-Dale does well to keep that inside the boundary at the scoreboard and hits a target in Butterick up the line. Plays on with Butters on the deck, over the top to Bontempelli, forward of centre wing, waiting for the cavalry to arrive. Back to Butterick, off his left boot, up towards left half forward. Artie Jones takes the mark, 60 from goal, quick inside 50 to the top of the goal square. Norton flies, roving at the back was McNeil, but he's held up in a tackle, an important one there by Jace Burgoyne, and we'll have a ball up in the goal square.
Yeah, what he had Lewis
up by 5.
Lewis leading at the ball there. I think it was whoever kicked it in just went for the long option.
Tossed up, ball's just pinballing around a couple of bootlaces and eventually rolls through for a minor score. So Dogs get her behind back. Margin 6 points again.
Willem Drew on the bench to start this quarter. Bontempelli, who was copying a tag from him in the third, has had 3 touches already, 44 metres gained.
Can't let him off the leash. Farrell spots Aaliyah right half back, coming the other way as Williams tracked it well with a double fist and knocks it towards the Rashudo stand. So Miles Bergman out of the game if you're just joining us. Sprained big toe in the first half. Otherwise, pretty tight defensive chess battle. Had an umpire knocked over early by Ed Richards. He's okay. Tossed in. Tap towards Butters. Couldn't control it. McKinlay chasing after it, but runs out of room and will go again with another boundary throw-in.
Bulldogs by 6 points. Still haven't kicked a goal in this half of footy, but leading by a straight kick. Boundary throw-in, knocked down by Sweet. Butters went onto it near Bontempelli, was tackled off it. A fumble there by Williams, but it works out because Kennedy grabs it, goes to Sanders. He's brought his own footy tonight. The young Bulldog kicks inside the forward 50. Flying Jones! Artie Jones over Lockie Jones and marks 25 out on a 45-degree angle.
What a grab.
That was a catch and a half, wasn't it?
He's been flying this quarter, or this half, to say the least.
Yeah. That's a really important mark. You talk about the context of the game. Margin currently 6 points. This is a big kick. I saw West miss one at the 1 minute mark of this final quarter, so huge kick in the context of the game here for the Bulldogs.
So Lewis kicked a goal after the halftime siren. This is their best chance to get their next one. Artie Jones from 30 metres out, and he's hit the post. What a let-off for Port Adelaide. Minus score, 9-9-63. Port 8-8-56. Almost 6 gone in the final term.
That's a really bad miss.
Poor defensive kick out though. They might get another crack. Turnover. Lewis to West. Pounces. Tumbles it through from 15. Oh, Port Adelaide have had a diabolical entry there. Kane Farrell looking for Aaliyah. Missed his mark. And in the end, the Bulldogs get a big goal. They're up by 7 now. 10-9-69 plays 8-8-56. And another major for Riley West, who moves to 2 on the night.
Oh, wow, just looking at the replay. Yeah, Aaliyah took the mark off the kick in and tried to handle back to Kane Farrell, and just Norton was good enough to bring the ball to ground, and they capitalised on that mistake.
Having a weird night, isn't he, Aaliyah?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is actually, Tom. Well, that's a really strange decision from someone who's such an experienced player, particularly in the context of the game. And yeah, wow, Josh Carby pulling his hair out.
Back in the middle of the ground, Bulldogs up by 13 points. Richards soccers it forward, gathered by Burn-Jones. His quick kick out of the danger lands in the lap of Butterick, who's playing very well for the Bulldogs. Back into the side. Experienced former son.
Good little player, Butterick. Got speed, uses the ball well.
Yep, a big-time recruit for them.
A couple of knee recons, though, as well, but he's a player.
Goes to Bustlinger. Now back to Butterick. Kicks down the line. Looking for Bontempelli. Richards racks up his opponent in Burn-Jones in the tackle. And we'll have a ball up centre, or forward of centre wing on the outer side of the ground.
Dogs by 13. Sweet down. Squeezing a kick out of traffic. Watkins did well. Horn Francis in the centre square. Handball was a little hot. Berry makes amends as Evans gets it to him and he kicks up towards the logo. Durden now, true centre wing broadcast side. Honours the run of Berry, who just kept going. He's at left half forward. He'll place it 20 from home. Whitlock on the run. Fist comes in from Bustlinger. Boundary throw in 20 out. Left forward pocket.
Mentioned Willem Drew starting the fourth quarter on the bench, and even just that build-up play initially from the Doggies, he was so important to stop the aerial contest from Bontempelli out in the far wing.
Dogs by 13. Lions win by 11 over the Blues at the Gabba. Lachie Neale, the Robert Walls medalist. Tossed in Sweet with an underhand paddle. Trying to get it towards the goal line. And the Dogs can win an Oscar there as Richards actually slowly tried to walk it over the line, and Sweet just kind of got frustrated and shoved him over, and in the end we're just going to get a free kick. Margin stays at 13. Ed Richards runs away and loops the handball over the top. And now Tim English has it at right half back.
Goes to Bailey Dale. finds a target inboard. It's Hines. Handballs to Bramble. Runs through the logo. Members side of the ground. Flat ball up to West. Takes it on the half volley. Takes on the tackle. Handballs to McNeil. He's got some support in Norton. Throws it on the left boot. Pulls it away around to the right. Minus score. Margin back to 14 points. 10-10-70. Quarter 8-8-56. 9 minutes gone in this final term.
5 of the last 6 scoring shots, the Dogs. They've just got 1 goal, 4 to show for it. Could have put it to bed. Port Adelaide still have a heartbeat. Lai thumps it out of there. It's a heaving ball that clears everybody. Bounces to centre wing. Durden was the only one who knew it would go. Hands it to Butters. Empty 50. Marching into it is Georgiades, and he spots him with the long entry. Mitch Georgiades takes it 25 out. Set shot to come to the left.
That is an absolute training drill from Port Adelaide. The long kick down the line out of your back half, and they made 3 rotations just before that kick happened, and Zach Butters was one of them. Swooping onto the back of the pack and got the spill. Georgiades so smart in his tick back towards goal and just make it look very, very easy, don't they? But you train a lot of pre-season for those ones.
Mitch Georgiades was one of the late heroes last week for Port to close the gap. He's trying to do the same again. Stabs at it. Wide left. Minus score. Margin's 13 points. Dogs lead. We've played 10 minutes in the final term on ABC Sport.
Said it during that third term. No one wants to grab this game by the scruff of the neck. Flat ball from Dale out of defence and a strong grab from Bramble in front of Whitlock at right half back. Plays on. Kicks on his left. Visentini runs at that. Too strong for Smith. Just read it better. So the Bulldogs' defence, they stream back, forcing Visentini to go long. So he does. Whitlock flies at it, so does Georgiades. Hits the deck, gathers the footy, kicks towards the goal square. I'm not sure if Horn Francis touched that, but it goes away to the left regardless. So another minus score. Port Adelaide 8-10-58. The Bulldogs 10-10-70. 11 minutes gone, final term.
2-goal game. Don't want to harp on the similarities, but a bit of deja vu with Showdown 59 last week. Low scoring. Requires a bit of class. Team that was leading by a good 4 goals, and now it's starting to get close again. Dogs head to the eastern side. Backtracking, courageous was Williams. He had plenty of bodies coming the other way. Took it without knowing what was behind him, but they're going to deem it touched off the boot. Everybody had stopped, so we're going to get a ball up. Quick reset. Taken down in the tackle. Hines. Ball shoots out through Williams. Charging in. Butters has absolutely cleaned up his opponent. There will be a free kick here. He's marched in hip and shoulder into Fraser, who thankfully has gotten up, but it took a few moments to do so. Gee, he was a bulldozer and absolutely flung himself in, and that is going to be a suspension.
Yep.
Butters has stuck the elbow, braced for contact, and run through Fraser rather. Zach Butters is in a bit of trouble. The Bulldogs play on in the meantime. West into the 50 and Aaliyah gets between a few bodies, plucks it out. He has been the defensive stalwart for the Port Adelaide Football Club this season.
Goes short to Jones, who goes to Ware at right half back. Need a replay of that Butters one. I'm not sure how high he got it.
Farrell, his shoulder clipped his chin.
Yeah. Okay. So it's
contact
always,
wasn't massive though, because he got straight up.
Always an interesting one. It's the afters. If Fraser was injured, that'd be a suspension. Ball's work to Burgoyne, short to Drew. He was pushed in the back by Sanders. Flicks it back to Burgoyne, does Drew. Got some options in the middle of the ground. He misses the target. Lai puts him under pressure and he slips. May have caught one high. Ball spills out. Elia comes flying through. Cleaner were the Bulldogs. Hines goes inside the forward 50. Up towards Norton. Beats Evans. So Norton paddling it to himself cleverly towards Gallagher, who goes to soccer. But pushes it away to the right-hand side. The Dogs 10-11-71. Port 8-10-58. 13 minutes gone. I reckon they're pretty tired out there, Lauren.
Yeah, it's starting to look a bit dewy as well. Like, it must be slippery. I know it's pretty cold outside of a very comfortable commentary box. But, yeah, it just seems like it must be a pretty slippery footy at different times.
We've had 8 behinds in this final quarter, just the 1 goal. Who wants it more? Lockie Jones, clearing kick, out to right half back. Durden battling there with Dale. Ball bounces to Williams. Spear tackle out of the air. As Ware brings him to the deck. We'll get a ball up, right half back. Friday night footy on ABC Sport. Dogs by 13. Tossed into the air, Vicentini slaps it down. Butters puts his head over it. McNeil's right with him. He knocked it back to Lockie Jones. Jacob Ware tries the sidestep on West, but he's in the phone box. Did it twice and just got his kick away from the desperate diving West. Kicks out towards Whitlock. Knocked it down to Durden. They get it out of dodge. He hands it wide to McKinlay, who definitely broke the ankles of Dale. He collapses into the turf. Handball forward. Murray's wrapped up. Good desperation from Butterick. Right on the boundary line. We're going to get a boundary throw-in right in front of the Bashir stand. Dogs by 13 points. Crowd on an edge. Good 30,000 in attendance. Dogs might need one more to really close this out. Tossed in, bounced off the shins of a power player and shoots its way to Durden, who sends it into the 50, and Georgiades catches a massive right hook. Bustlinger tried to put the spoil in. The swinging arm from behind has collected him. And Georgiades goes down hard like it's the 8th round. Pops back up for one last fight. Free kick to come, wide right. He's a good 45 out.
Smart kick from Durden as well. Western Bulldogs at that stoppage had extra numbers behind the ball. It's just a smart, didn't blaze, good composure with ball in hand.
Warm welcome to everyone joining us from the Gabba and the NRL. Mitch Georgiades with a set shot to really get this game going. And he hits it flush from 50 for his 4th of the night. The margin is just 7 points. It has been teetering around the teens all night. The Dogs have led throughout the evening, but it was as high as 19 in the first quarter. Otherwise, Port Adelaide have stayed right with them. It's been an ugly affair in this final quarter, very inaccurate, but right now Mitch Georgiades has stood up and the margin 10-11-71 the Dogs, Port Adelaide 9-10-64. Aaron Bryans and Tom Wilson calling the action for you alongside former Port Adelaide coach Lauren Arnell and the 4-time Showdown medalist Josh Franco. What a finish you're in for, team.
I'm loving it. The class from Durden there, just the little step, bit of composure with the footy when he knew Doggies had numbers ahead of the ball, as Josh mentioned. It's game on. I'm loving this game. It's just such a tussle, a few little chess pieces around stoppage.
Back in the middle of the ground, Sweet knocks it towards English and Kennedy. Morn Francis came through, socketed it. Bailey Dale gathered, handball towards Bramble, took on the tackle, got it to Bontempelli, to Williams, to Kennedy, defensive side of centre wing. Fumbling ball, tumbling ball up towards Hines. Looked like he threw that one out towards Artie Jones. Gathered by Baker. And Hines again, the good pressure from Port, clean enough there from the Dogs, but they handball it straight out of bounds. Watkins plays on quickly, goes to Sweet. They got players lining up in the middle of the ground.
True centre half back, he hits Murray, switches on to Aaliyah. The Dogs have been so good tonight, zonally shutting down Port Adelaide when they try to transition out of the back half. And they've done it again here. Aaliyah gets to McKinlay, who looks lateral. Josh Franco holds his breath. Aaliyah takes the mark, short pass wasn't 15, gets it back from Murray's. Now he takes on the corridor and kicks it straight to Oscar Baker, who is all alone at the defensive edge. It's just lacked a bit of polish tonight. Defensive arm wrestle. Baker for the Dogs to Kennedy in game 150. Spots the marching Norton, cutting across was Lai. And off hands it rolls over the boundary line. If you've just joined us, the other talking points, Daniel Johansson, the umpire, bowled over by Ed Richards in the first quarter. Looked a little dazed but came back out. Zach Butters could be suspended, hip and shoulder as he took out Joel Frazier. Looks pretty clear cut, he got him in the jaw, so you'd think he'd be missing a week. Meanwhile, the Western Bulldogs are trying to snap a 4-game losing run. They're up by 7.
On the boundary throw in, Frazier on hands and knees goes to Smith, to Butters, to Richards, who kicks towards centre half forward, and it finds Bailey Williams. And we know he can go the journey. It'll take a kick of 55.
Well, right, Tom, you know he can go the journey. Normally a good kick for goal, but again, in the context of this game, it's another big kick. They've been really poor in front of goal, particularly in this last quarter. Some missed opportunities. This is one the Bullies have to take.
Already has a goal of the year contender this year, Bailey Williams. This is so important in the context of this game. From 55, asked to play on, unloads Bailey Williams. Got plenty on it, just drifted late. So another minus score, 10-12-72 the Dogs. Port 9-10-64, 18 and a half minutes gone.
Great to have you with us for Friday Night Footy on ABC Sport. Farrell kicks it wide. Logan Evans, been a workhorse tonight. He's copped a couple of hits. Bit proppy on some landings, but he keeps finding the footy. Back to Farrell. Drills it hard and straight. Now 30 out of the defensive goal square. Joe Richards. But again, the Dogs are just limiting their ball movement. Richards wants to go long eventually. Bangs it straight in the direction of Lockie Smith. Second gamer cuts it off. Hands it towards Richards, who sidesteps Whitlock. Into the 50 he goes. Norton uses the body. And outmarks Burn-Jones, who collapses in a heap as well. Norton will take advantage with no one on the mark. Kicks towards the pocket. West caught behind Logan Evans. Speak of the devil. Right in front of the Riverbank stand with the intercept mark for Port Adelaide.
Is that Richards that kicked the ball?
Yeah.
Oh, that was a strange decision, wasn't it?
Lacking the connection out of defence. So this one's up towards Sweet, who fists it out over the boundary line. We'll have a throw in left half forward for the Dogs.
They just look really vulnerable, Port Adelaide, when they keep going lateral, backwards, chip. Eventually they try to bite one off through the middle or one that's not really on and turn the footy over.
It feels like the decision-making's off. You know? It's whether it's execution, but decision-making has lacked. But they're only down 8. Sweet grabs it out of the ruck cleverly. That handball was too hot for Wines. Butters bursts through, so does Moraes. Up high ball towards Willem Drew, and Richards tackles him to the ground. And we'll have another ball up. Forward of centre wing for the Dogs. They're leading by 8 points. We're into time on in this final term for ABC Sport.
Winner temporarily moves into the top 10. Plenty of games to play out this weekend. Play just halted as the runner tried to come on to look at Evans, but finally we get him off and we continue. Tap down. Tackle laid hard. Drew on Richards. Ball bobbles out. Kennedy just toes it forward for territory. It's going to work. Bounce straight up towards Norton, who flicks it with the paddle back to Kennedy. Artie Jones with the fancy footwork. They're 45 out. Kennedy running out of room. Tried to centre it. Only found McKinlay. Short kick to Moraes. The crowd's getting really restless here with this short kick mark game. Up to right half back. Wines.
Makes it hard. The Doggies have dropped. They've almost got +2, +3 down the line.
Wines sends it through the eastern side. Whitlock presents. Takes it in front of Buslinger. Has the run of Zach Butters. Plenty of time to run forward. Chip it straight towards Bontempelli.
No one wants to win this.
In the hole. They just keep giving it away. Who will stand up? Bontempelli to Jones. Norton flies and it slips through his hands. Aaliyah to Burn-Jones. Gee, neither of these sides want to be finals contenders right now. Whitlock tried to get the handball to Wines, and it's knocked away by Artie Jones. Boundary throw-in in front of the Williams stand.
Tell you what, if you're advertising our game, you wouldn't show the last 3 minutes, would you?
Absolutely not.
Wow, some decision-making, execution, really, really poor from both sides.
Dogs have emptied out their forward line to defend this lead. There's only 3 forwards inside 50, and it's a front half stoppage.
Smith knocks it down to Bontempelli. Drew grabs him in the tackle. Gallagher gets a quick kick forward. Lai coming out of defence. Met with the hard tackle. Clean from Richards to Evans to Wines to Butters. Can they make it work? Port Adelaide, he steps into traffic, chips towards Durden at centre half forward. He's got players streaming forward in Berry. Georgiades is trying to get free. He's trying to work through the maze. He finds him at right half forward. He marks on the painted 50.
Tell you what, Josh Lai, take a bow. His ground ball deep in the back 50 was outstanding to set up that ball movement through the middle of the ground and a eventual connect with Georgiades. That was superb, Josh Lai. Well done.
He just keeps backing himself in for a young guy that hasn't played much senior footy at the highest level. He's got that inner confidence that you need.
That was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
So Mitch Georgiades had a shot like this against Hawthorn. It was a bit closer. He missed. That would have put them in front. This can put them within 2 points. From the paint of the 50, Georgiades hits it. It's away to the left-hand side. And they get a fist through, do the Dogs, from Smith, minus score. So Port a 9-11-65. The Dogs 10-12-72. 23 minutes gone in the final term.
Big final few minutes, and Tim English has been off for a while. He looked proppy. Doctors are looking at him. Means the Dogs are down their star ruckman. Out to left half back. Kennedy put down a mark he should have taken. Now has to become the tackler. Collapses. Holding free kick. Going Port Adelaide's way.
I'm not sure Bailey Dale could have kicked that ball better to Kennedy.
You're right.
So Moraes, the man who was tracking the footy. Kennedy impeded him. He plays on and hands it to Ware. Buffeted off his kick. Might work. Might be downfield.
Wow.
Free kick to Port Adelaide in front of the scoreboard. That is a costly error. And guess who? Matt Kennedy, game 150, has had 2 mares. Port Adelaide are right in this now.
Pretty soft.
It's barely 50, but it is consistent with an earlier call against Port earlier in the game. So you've got to give them that the umps. Consistent.
Corey Durden is one of 11 players to kick a goal in every game this season, but hasn't hit the scoreboard tonight. Starts in front of the light tower. Durden on the tight angle. Threads the middle. Game on at the Adelaide Oval. Margin is a point. 10-12-72 the Dogs. Port Adelaide 10-11-71. They're riding it to the finish in the City of Churches. Friday night footy on ABC Sport with Lauren Arnell and Josh Franco.
And Lauren, this is the stage of the game. 1 point the margin, only a couple of minutes left of actual game time when sides put into practice all their training throughout the pre-season in terms of scenarios and game-based stuff. So Port Adelaide still need to score. Western Bulldogs need to hang on. And it's the side with the most composure that will generally get the job done in these scenarios.
So it's Smith in the middle of the ground. English is still off the ground. So clearly an injury there to their star ruckman. Sweet v Smith. Knocks it back, does Sweet towards Horn Francis, who misses the handball towards Butters, but he's clean enough to gather the footy. Kicks up the line towards Berry. Goes the 1-2. There goes the stand-in skipper, takes a bounce, kicks inside the forward 50, looking for Whitlock, who flew out over the back. Karmas misses the handball, streaming back, and it's going to be rushed through for a minor score. Scores are level at Adelaide Oval, 10-12-72 apiece. 2 minutes to go.
Tell you what, you can't panic here yet either. 2 minutes is a long time in footy. Both sides can't panic. There's still plenty of time on the clock to play the game that you want to play.
The Adelaide Oval is rocking. How good is Friday night footy? Heartbreak 7 days ago. Can they snatch victory tonight? Dale to the right back pocket to Butterick. He's been good on return, but has to blast this to the broadcast wing. Not a lot ahead. What a mark!
Big contest.
That is huge from Will Lewis. We've been harping on about it all night, but this SSP mature ager has been terrific. He heads to Norton, outnumbered by 2. It clears out the back door and rolls over the boundary line. Will be tossed in right half forward for the Dogs. Scores level, 72 apiece.
We'll tell you what, this quarter clearance count 10-3 in favour of the Western Bulldogs, so massive clearance coming up here. Big moment in the game.
Boundary throw in. Sweet knocks it forward towards Butters, who can't get it. So minute and a half to go. Feel like any score might do here, just with the nature of this contest.
I'm on Marcus Bontempelli watch. William Drew's tightening up the screws on him again, and he's starting on the backside of this stoppage for the Doggies.
Sweet v Smith, bit of a wrestle up towards your man Bontempelli. And Bailey Dale is tackled by Wines at the logo. True centre wing.
Who else would you hit it to?
And this is where you need Tim English out there, but he's hurt.
Smith knocks it forward. Horn Francis rides the tackle of Fraser. Wasn't high. He took it on. It should be holding the ball, Josh.
I thought Pryor, if he ducked into it, that's Pryor. Dodged a bullet there. Jason Horn Francis.
Held the whistle, Jamie Broadbent. Scores level, dying stages, Sweet down, Butters tackles Fraser, coming in Sanders, got it out towards Richards, he collapses into the footy and can't reel it in. Bontempelli thrusts it forward to the paint of 50, Ware cuts it off but gives it away, flung it to Richards, he can't find a teammate, second bite, he kicks it into Kennedy, what are they doing? Port at left half back, long clearing kick, up towards the broadcast wing, Horn Francis can't track it, Dale's with him, over the boundary line, did he kick it? Goal umpires say toss it in. Minute to go.
He kicked that straight into Kennedy's head.
Boundary throw in coming up. It's forward of centre wing, Bulldogs' favour. Sweet in the ruck. 2 bites at it. Oh, Butters went through to try and knock it forward. Sanders kicks inside the forward 50. Arnie Jones dropped the chest mark. Goes the handball out wide to McNeil. Couldn't quite hit the target. Jones again. Slugging the tackle. Keeps his feet. Handballs it off and a score will do. A score might just do for the Western Bulldogs. just off the side of the boot. They go to 10-13-73, 10-12-72. Gallagher with the behind.
Port have to go. Farrell up the spine. Last roll of the dice. Huge fist comes in from Baker. Up to half forward. Norton wins it to Butterick. Into the 50. Backtracking. The mark is taken. Will Lewis gets back. Lewis takes it in front of the Riverbank stands. It's going to be heartbreak again for Port Adelaide. And the Western Bulldogs get sweet relief. They hang on at the death. Lewis to try and increase the margin. From 25 on the tight angle. Misses wide right. And the Dogs win by 2 in a Friday night thriller. They led all night, the Western Bulldogs, up by 19 in the first quarter. At quarter time, it was 13, half time 18, and three-quarter time just 5. It was scrappy. It was ugly. It needed a bit of class, but the Dogs dug themselves out of a hole. They're off the leash. They've found their bite. They snap a 4-game losing streak, and the Western Bulldogs get the job done, scratching and clawing to victory at the Adelaide Oval. Artie Jones, arguably the match winner, with a late behind. They're up by 2. Red, white, and blue. We come out snarling, Bulldogs through and through. Bulldogs fight and Bulldogs roar. We give our very best. The Western Bulldogs 10-14-74 knock off Port Adelaide 10-12-72, and sometimes it's not how you get it done, it's just the fact that you locked away the 4 points. The Bulldogs moved to 5-4, Port Adelaide 3-6, and 33,000 in the house went home bitterly disappointed. It is now 22 points, the combined margin of their last 5 losses, Port Adelaide. They've been around the mark against some of the best, and they just cannot fall over the line. The Western Bulldogs winners here at the Adelaide Oval. Lauren Arnell, Josh Franco to unpack it all.
Well, Lauren, that was a interesting game. It didn't probably get really exciting until the last couple of minutes. There was a lot of turnovers, uncharacteristic decision-making errors and skill execution errors, but in the end, Western Bulldogs walk away with the 4 points in a game they perhaps would have thought they deserved to win based on some of the numbers. And one of the things from Port Adelaide's point of view that they would be really concerned about is their ability to get the ball inside 50. They've gone in only 35 times again, and they've conceded 59 against. So that would be a real concern for Josh Carr and the Port Adelaide coaching staff. And then, again, just decisions under pressure. You go back to the Farrell kick into Alier to get the follow-up handball that then cost the goal, and just some really poor decisions and, as we said, skill execution errors where they ultimately paid the price for it. But it wasn't a pretty game to watch, but as we said, it got really exciting in that last few minutes, and the Bulldogs were lucky to hang on.
I think if you're a Doggies supporter and you're still listening to the game, you just have to walk away and say, what heart, honestly. Like, we've talked so much in the pre-game about how many injuries they've had and the adversity they've faced. I'd love to know what was going on with Tim English in that sort of last quarter. You've got some news, Aaron?
Head clash with Matty Kennedy, his teammate. So had to come off with essentially kind of 6 to go. Wasn't seen again. And that, might have hurt them down the stretch had there been more centre clearances, but certainly around the ground.
just so much heart in that team, and led by Marcus Bontempelli. What an incredible game. He's so good to watch, isn't he, guys? And I just think, like, players who should be their bottom tier standing up in key moments. We saw Lewis have a number of moments tonight. Smith late in the game when he has no right to be taking contested marks. And yeah, I've just been really impressed by the Doggies, and I know that they had almost like a glory run to start the season and they looked untouchable, and now their backs are against the wall. They come here to Adelaide Oval and win their second game for the season here. They've beaten the Crows here, they've beaten Port here now. For me, they're just very impressive in the heart that they've shown towards the midpoint of this season.
What that does for them as well,
yeah.
You know, that 4-game losing skid, they're up against it tonight. As you mentioned, Lauren, it was scores level at 72 apiece, and those 4 points just probably mean that little bit extra in the context of their season. We know English has been out a little bit and was down in that last quarter. Has had players stand up. You have your usuals in Bontempelli, but Riley Sanders, had a huge night possessions-wise, but just the effort, I thought, just getting to contest and handball receives and handball gives.
Yeah, well, I might have missed the game. I don't know. But I just felt like the Bulldogs, and I'd be interested to listen to Luke Beveridge's press conference, that I just thought they should have, if they were a bit more composed and able to be a bit more efficient going inside forward 50, I thought they should have won the game by more. And we touched on that at three-quarter time. The Port's pressure was good, and I guess perceived pressure, and they were turning the footy over a little bit. But even in the last quarter, I mean, West missed a goal that he should have kicked. Jones missed one. Norton missed one. Williams missed one as well. And I thought they had some opportunities where they had have taken them, the Bulldogs. They could have won by a lot more, but in the end, they made it pretty hard for themselves.
1 goal 9 in the second half.
There you go.
Bulldogs, I guess.
Yeah,
they had so many opportunities.
Not only the 1 goal 9, like there was 4 or 5 goals or opportunities to have a shot on goal that went missing as well.
But also, like, huge credit to Luke Beveridge. And in previous years, at times, I've been hard on him for as a guy who sometimes plays players out of position and is constantly tinkering with what he's doing. But not only is he undermanned, but what they're doing defensively is going to shut down a lot of teams this year. Like, it was a tough game to watch at times because zonally they know exactly where they need to be, and he's got them locked in. They might not have the class right now in terms of their stars to really polish it off, but the actual system is great.
Yeah.
Every time Port Adelaide's mids looked up on turnover, more often than not, the Bulldogs had +2. Sometimes there was +3 bodies down the line, and you're looking for Mitch Georgiades, and sometimes it's Whitlock. He's still learning his craft ahead of the ball. But it's hard to coach against when teams are dropping 2 behind the ball. But it really limits Port Adelaide, and to your point, Josh, their ability to go inside 50. They were hesitating and trying to look for clean footy rather than pulling the trigger, and they did it better in the second half, Port Adelaide. They took metres far more often and became way more dangerous, but I think it was the Doggies' game, and most of the work was done in that first half, and then it was just grit it out and grind your teeth.
Well, I think in the end, and again, I'm scratching my head why they don't get the inside 50s. Clearly, sides are defending against their ball movement, but one of the glaring things, even from tonight, Butters has 30 disposals. The next midfielder, or the next best midfielder, Burgoyne, you could probably put in that category. He's had 21, Maria some 19, but Horne-Francis just the 18, started the game well. Willem Drew just the 15 disposals. Wines only 15 touches. So not enough of their prime movers, if you like, just getting hold of the footy. And like I said, if you're going inside 50, 35 times a game and you're conceding 60, you're not going to win many games.
Another 13 marks to Aaliyah, 4 of those intercepts as well. It's a terrific season he's putting together. He's second in the league for intercepts, contested marks and marks. And I mean, without him, you wonder what Port Adelaide would be this year. Like, he's been an absolute brick wall. But it has been the Bulldogs' night. Another thrilling finish at the Adelaide Oval. We've been blessed over the past month. And for Port Adelaide, it's yet another single-digit heartbreak. The Dogs making their way down the race, winners by 2 tonight. 10-14-74 to 10-12-72. Goal scorers as well for them across the evening. 2 to Norton, Lewis and West. Singles to Bontempelli, Kennedy, Fraser and Artie Jones. Let's check in the rooms. Vicky Schwartz is standing by, and Matty Kennedy, who did have a couple of head-in-hands moments in the last quarter, had a pretty good night overall. It's game 150 for him, and he's leading the troops in alongside the wounded warrior, the man who just cannot be stopped right now, Marcus Bontempelli. Vicky.
Well, yeah, as you can hear, the applause in the visitors' rooms here is just erupted. What a win. They only scored 1 goal, I think you said, in the second half, but they've managed to win this game, broken their 4-game losing streak, and they are back in the winner's circle. and I think we're going to hear a very loud rendition of their song. There we go.
Lockie Smith in the middle, second game for him, first win for the Dogs. Here we go. 203 centimetres.
They're busy throwing the Gatorade everywhere, I think. They've emptied about 6 cans of Gatorade. Very, very happy Bulldogs outfit there. You can hear. We'll be back a little later with one of the stars of the game.
Winners by 2, and you can see the relief on their faces. Shout out to Buku Kamas as well. I know we've been harping on about the 150th Matty Kennedy. It was game 50 for Buku tonight, and he's had a pretty impressive journey. Born in South Sudan, moved to Australia at the age of 6, was part of kind of the Western Bulldogs community program through his high school, and navigated his way to Whitten Oval, picked up as a Category B rookie, and has been pretty prolific so far, and actually kind of tried to move to Carlton at the end of the year. Didn't work out, but I think he's having a pretty good season with the Dogs, so maybe all things work out well. In the earlier game as well, Brisbane defeating Carlton by 11 points. Ended up a little closer than the Lions probably wanted. They were pretty far ahead at half-time. Carlton kicked 11-6 in the second half, which really brought the margin back down. It was as low as 10, and Brisbane winning by 11. Robert Wall's medalist was Lockie Neal, had 32 touches, 9 clearances and a goal. He was a little cheeky in the post-game as well, said we were pulling a Carlton in terms of how they played in the second half, but they got the job done.
So you don't want to be letting that slip out.
It's a little rough, isn't it? 4 goals to Logan Morris in that affair. Paddy Cripps was pretty good for the Blues, 32 and a goal, and some injury concerns for Zach Williams and Ollie Florent as well in the fallout of that. Here, the injury concerns are for both sides. So Miles Bergman didn't play out the second half after a sprained big toe. He's just had no luck with his foot. This is a different injury, but he's had nerve issues, he's had plantar problems, and now he's got a toe issue. And Tim English, the head clash with his teammate, ends up being ruled out of the game late in the stretch, but the Bulldogs do hang on to win by 2. Let's get some reaction downstairs. Vicky Schwartz is in the Bulldogs camp.
Well, I'm joined by Ted Richards, who got about 30 touches and I think kicked a goal. How are you feeling? Like you've broken a 4-game losing streak? Pretty happy outfit tonight.
Yeah, no, very happy. I don't think I've ever lost 5 on the trot at this football club, so that wasn't about to happen tonight, I don't think. So the boys are really motivated to get the job done over here. It seems like almost a home ground advantage for us, having played here already 3 times this year. So we knew that Port was going to be a difficult game, and obviously it was nice and greasy out there from what you would have been able to see, but good to get the 4 points.
It was a real battle of attrition, wasn't it? You only managed 1 goal in the second half, and to come away with a win was pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of our skills that let us down, but you know, the boys in defence held up really strongly, and I mean, yeah, to come away with the win 2 behinds to sort of seal it was I guess not the way you want to do it, but it doesn't really matter when you come away as victors.
It looked like it might be a draw for a while. What was the feeling then?
I don't know. I think I just wanted us to score big moments from Big Willie Lewis in only sort of his 5th game. You know, some young players, Harvey Gallagher getting on a few, Artie Jones electric in that sort of last passage. Thought Riley Sanders played a pretty massive game tonight as well. So just really a lot of young blokes that really stood up, which was so good to see. I mean, you can't really go past people like that stepping up. Obviously, the skip was huge tonight again, as always. So yeah, I'm just really super proud of us for sticking it out.
Yeah, you talk about the young ones, but you mentioned Bontempelli. What an amazing leader he is.
Yeah, he's pretty special. Anytime you get to run out under him, you know, you walk a bit taller. So I mean, hopefully he can go around for another 10 years. I'd love to play under him for 10 years to come.
Over to you, Aaron and Tom.
Ed, congratulations on the win tonight. I thought your game was outstanding. You mentioned the conditions were greasy. Was it a bit of due, or because it just seemed to be a lot of ball handling mistakes, and obviously there's a lot of pressure in the game, but it just seems more mistakes than usual.
Yeah, no, there was a bit of moisture sort of dew on the ground just throughout the whole game. So you'd probably say that both teams didn't handle it too well. There was a lot of fumbling, a lot of missed marks, a lot of missed kicks, sort of slipping off the side of the boot. So, it was one of those nights where it's just high contest, high pressure. If you have a look over your shoulder, you're probably going to fumble. So I think we were probably able to handle a couple of the moments a little bit better. And then, coming away with the win is obviously a massive bonus.
And I know it's difficult immediately after the game, but to get your thoughts on how the game unfolded. Up here, I just felt like some of your decisions inside forward 50, if you had have executed a little bit better, the margin wouldn't have been as close as it was. And I thought you sort of dominated field position inside 50s, 59 to 35. Did it feel like that out there?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was definitely our skills that let us down. As you said, if we just sort of executed a little bit better, which is something we haven't done in the last sort of month of footy. So we've just been executing really poorly. Coming out of D50, that was a lot better tonight. But then, going inside 50 was pretty poor. So I guess the conditions had probably something to do with that. But yeah, it's all about executing. And as you said, the inside 50 count, it did feel like we dominated field position to no avail at some time. So something we'll have to go to work on. Another tough contest next week against the Blues, so we're looking forward to that one.
Ed, congratulations on the win tonight. I thought it was a game that just showed real heart from you guys, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about the blokes you mentioned earlier, Will Lewis, Michael Selwood. Like, these guys are coming from the clouds and performing in big moments. What is it about your program and the coaching group you've got and the playing group you've got that allows these guys to perform so well in big moments like tonight?
I think it's not sort of... We speak about sort of not giving young players an out. Like, if you get selected in the team, you're expected to perform as if you've played a lot of senior footy. So it's sort of a bit of, I guess, baptised in fire sort of thing. You've got to come in, you've got to perform. We're not going to, make excuses for you if you make mistakes or if you don't put your head over the footy. So that's saying that those boys you mentioned, Will Lewis, Sellers in particular, they're such combative beasts, so being able to just put their head over the footy, hopefully the rest comes and stems off that.
I'm interested in your thoughts just around stoppage tonight and what you came into the game. Obviously, you've now won the game, so you might be able to share a little bit with us in terms of tactics around stoppage. There seemed to be a little bit going on around numbers dropping behind and wings coming in. How did that look for you out there as a mid?
Chaotic. I mean, it was a bit going on, as you sort of mentioned, but I thought we handled it pretty well. We were sort of getting a mid to that defensive lay to start, but then that sort of changed, and then we had our wing go there. So forever evolving sort of in there as the game plays out, seeing if we can get better results here and there. I thought we were able to adapt pretty well. I don't know what the numbers looked like in there, but felt like we had a good hold of centre bounce sort of after the first quarter, and then around the ground we sort of wanted to put time into, obviously Butters, a super player, Horn Francis has been in some great form, so we wanted to put time into them. So I thought Sando and Joel at times, they had a few roles. They had sort of a few roles on those boys, so they were able to execute pretty well, I thought.
And beyond the tactics side of the game, I know Luke Beveridge is a bit of a master with words at times. What was the pre-game like, knowing that you guys have had your backs against the wall, you're a few men down? Is it more a motivational and heart? Because it just looked like you guys played with so much heart tonight.
Yeah, no, it was all about instinct this week. During our captain's on meeting, he put up just a photo of the movie Basic Instinct. So that was sort of the theme going into the game. Michael Douglas, Sharon Stone, those types. So it's just all about playing on instinct. And I think we did that pretty well. Obviously, I would have loved to execute a few of my moments a bit better. I think, a few boys would like a few moments back, but as I said before, it doesn't matter when you come away with a victory.
He didn't switch his legs over, did he, Bevo?
No, he wasn't doing that. But he could have. I mean, that would have got the boys up.
Ed, this has been brilliant. Just before we let you go, got to play doctor for a bit. So firstly, Bontempelli, like you touched on how good he was before, but just walk us through what he's looking like between the weeks, because I feel like he's hobbling and he's looking really proppy, and then he gets out there and he turns it on again. He's a wounded warrior.
I mean, he'll be the first to tell you that he's fine, and he's obviously battling with a few different things, but doesn't really matter come game day. He's obviously the best player in the comp. I don't think there's any arguing that, especially, on one leg at times. So he is sort of a weekend-to-weekend operator at the moment. He's like an older local footballer that doesn't train during the week, but he's ready to go once it comes to Friday, Saturday night.
Oh, he delivered again tonight. And Tim English, a head clash late. Is he okay down in the rooms?
I haven't actually seen Timmy. I can't really comment on that one, but hopefully he's all good.
No, fingers crossed he's all right. Tom Liberatore sounds like he's a couple of weeks away after that minor knee surgery, but how's he doing with the concussion drama? Is he okay inside the four walls?
Yeah, no, Tommy's good. He's obviously had a few concussions in the past, but I think he's pretty happy with where his head's at and where his concussion things at. It's just that knee was giving me a little bit of trouble. So I think it's not really a terrible thing for him to have a couple extra weeks just to get his head right. But also, he had the need to get a little clean out. So hopefully we'll get him back in the next couple of weeks as well.
Love your work, Ed, and hopefully this is a win that really gets your season back on track as the troops start to return as well. Congratulations on the 2-point victory.
Yes, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Head Richards downstairs in the Bulldogs rooms. They got over the line at the death. A couple of late goals after Port Adelaide levelled the scoring, and they win by 2 points, 10-14-74 to 10-12-72. I said points then, didn't I? Not 2 late goals?
No, 2 points.
Yeah.
He's a real character, Ed Richards.
He's funny. He's funny.
He's funny, dude. And when they beat the Crows, I think it was round 2, their third game of the year, had some ripping one-liners and how he was interacting with the crowd, and just pulls out something like that, and it's great for the game.
Good value. I like it. Throw it a few Bont's way too. Perform on the weekends. Don't worry about training during the week. Local footballer.
I mean, another 30 disposal performance. It is officially a career best season for the Bont so far. We're only 9 rounds in, but I mean, he's doing it on one leg, and he's at the age of 30 and still just continues to find ways to fire a shot. And the way that we're seeing, I guess, the modern veteran midfielder like your Scott Pendlebury's, there's no reason why Bontempelli is anywhere near the end of his glittering career the way he's playing.
Well, he's one of those players. Once he's had enough of the midfield, he can just go forward.
Pull a Dangerfield.
Yeah, well, how tall is he? 195? So he's almost a key forward as well. So he'll play till he's 40.
Yeah, 194 is the official number.
Crazy, isn't it?
We'll flip to Port Adelaide. We're going to get some reaction from their rooms in a moment, hopefully. In terms of where they're currently sitting now, as I said before, combined losing margin of 22 points in their last 5. Their average through the year is 11 points. So they're just so competitive. Just falling a little bit short. It would hurt you in a sense in terms of your momentum and your heart, but I guess the positive is that again Port Adelaide has showcased that they can match it with the best, and they're not as far off as many people probably thought they were at the start of the year, Loz.
No, I think that's right, and certainly the supporters will be frustrated again tonight that's a close loss, but I think if you balance it and you go what would we have expected before this season started, and at this point of the year, I think the patches of good footy have been really good. And I think what we saw tonight was there was quite a lot of inconsistency in what their best footy looked like and what their worst footy looked like, and it's probably just an indicator of where they're at as a side and the youth in that team.
The other one, I know Josh talked about the 59 to 35 inside 50s, the tackles inside 50, Bulldogs had 18 to 2. Yeah. So that just showed the pressure that Port Adelaide were under, and I guess that second tier is probably out of this last month where they've had the close results, probably just off compared to what they've been.
Yeah, and I think from Port Adelaide's perspective as well, and their supporters, competitive losses, I think they'd be okay with that, because I think they're realistic on where Port Adelaide is at the moment in terms of the list demographic, the age of the list, and the list profile. So the worst thing that can happen to Port Adelaide, particularly over this 5-week block where they're coming up against some pretty good sides, was to be blown out the park, and they haven't been. So it does give the supporters hope, and it gives the coaching staff down at Alberton plenty to work with and work on.
There was a real concern before the Hawks game that this month of footy was going to demoralise them, and they've done the opposite. They've showed that they're a gallant team that can be around the mark, and as you kind of touched on, the glass half full is, look, you're probably still in the hunt for a pretty good draft pick. You're not throwing that away in a sense, and you're not overachieving either, so hopefully they can squeeze in for a wild card, but your draw is going to be better next year as well, depending on where you finish, and this is a side that isn't going to fall off a cliff, which I think there were some concerns about early on. So.
That's fair.
Yeah, congratulations to Josh Carr. He found a way to adapt. I know we kind of touched on it at half time. Does he have another weapon in his arsenal to go to a different gear when the Bulldogs kept shutting them down, and they showcased it. There are times that they went back to the old game plan, but they certainly were able to find different ways to impact the contest.
Yep. No, definitely. And I guess one of the concerns coming out of the game is the Butters incident. What thoughts on that? Who did he hit? Was it Fraser?
Yeah, it was Fraser, who bounced back.
He bounced back, so it's obviously on outcome and potential to cause injury, but I think you'd be all right with that, wouldn't you?
I personally think it's not a thing, but I need to see the replay where he connected him, and he loves paying fines to the AFL. Yeah. He lives for that, the most fine player in the history of the game. But to me, I don't know, he sort of looked and turned when the umpire paid the free kick and was sort of a bit surprised. So whether he got him in the chest and it slightly slipped up, it looked like an old-fashioned shirt front.
Yeah, I think he's in a lot of trouble. So I'll pass you the vision now, Tom, so you and Josh can have a look.
He definitely got...
The problem is Fraser double taps the ball straight towards the centre square, and Butters makes a beeline for him, and it's a good kind of 2 seconds as he lines him up and runs through him. And even though he hasn't concussed Fraser or he hasn't, absolutely put him down for the count. The problem is that he's made just enough contact to the jaw, which contributes high contact, and he's deliberately done it.
And isn't it the
scale
to cause harm? What's the language they use?
I guess
the
potential to cause
injury. Yeah.
And
so that's one.
Yeah, I know the MRO is always under a bit of scrutiny for its inconsistencies, but this is one of those where I feel like if you wanted to stamp that action out, which is you've gone hard past the footy to try and take out a player, even though you haven't hurt him in the end, it's penalising the action over the impact. Yep. And, unfortunately, the way the AFL is these days, it usually is impact over action. So he might actually get clear from it, but we don't want that in the game.
Well, that was a common occurrence, wasn't it, 20, 30 years ago? And when it happens, it stands out.
It does.
As an outlier, which is a good thing. But you're right, you don't need that.
He's lucky he didn't hit him high. It could have been a disastrously different scenario. Let's get some reaction from Port Adelaide, who fell just short at the death. A gallant effort against the Bulldogs. Vicky Schwartz is in their rooms.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. I'm joined by Jace Burgoyne. Jace, another Friday night classic for Port Adelaide, and unfortunately on the losing end again.
Yeah, it's been a bit disappointing. Obviously the last couple of weeks coming close, but not getting across the line quite, and obviously we'll review it and we'll move on, because obviously we've got another Friday night go coming, and obviously the slow starts are a bit disappointing as well. We need to sort of fix those up, but probably a bit disappointed in the way we played as well. It wasn't our best.
Yeah, the slow starts have been a bit of an issue most of the season, and I guess you're coming back well, but it's obviously cost you matches in the end.
Yeah, I think last couple of weeks, we obviously haven't started well, and they're probably piling goals a bit too quickly. And but like you said, we're able to come back and finish the game off quite strongly, but not quite get over the line. So that's something that we'll definitely look at. And we have touched on it, but obviously just not being able to execute.
And coming back at the end, obviously you drew level with a little while to go, probably about a minute to go. Did you feel it might be a draw, or had you practiced those scenarios to not lose that game?
Yeah, we touched on scenarios, and they were holding up on the bench, the green sign, which means sort of go. And I think we felt pretty confident going to the last quarter, knowing that we haven't played our best footy, and if we could put our best footy in that last quarter, we'd be able to get over the line. But just the story of the last couple of weeks of just not being able to execute in those last couple of minutes.
You must feel like you're so near yet so far, because you've lost 2 point, a 1 point, 3 point, and now another 2 point.
Yeah, 100%. But you look at it as well. We're a young side and we're still learning, and obviously a new coach, new coaching system, and we're making pretty good strides. But like I said, just need to tighten a few things up. But I think we're on the right path.
Aaron and Tom, anything to add?
Look, Jace, commiserations on the loss tonight, but you mentioned the slow starts have become a bit of a trend, and another trend that's starting to emerge is just your inability to get the volume of inside 50s. Tonight you only went inside 50 35 times compared to the Western Bulldogs 59. What are some of the reasons behind that?
Yeah, we touched on it. I think we try to be too cute with the footy around the ground instead of just going long inside 50, and those little short kicks, 45s, we probably didn't need to do those as much as we did, and we did touch on it, try to tuck it deep a bit more, and I'm not too sure what the inside 50 count was in the second half, but we did touch on it, and we just probably were a bit too cute and turned the ball over a bit too much around the ground.
Jace, how much do you think that was due to the Bulldogs' pressure versus, I guess, that change in message? It seemed at half-time there was that message to go a bit more direct and take metres.
Yeah, I think they apply good pressure all night, and going into the game, we're sort of building our game off pressure, and obviously we probably weren't there at the start, and obviously we built into it, but they kept matching it, and it's always going to be hard to win when you have a team breathing down your neck.
Jace, shout out to you firstly. Career best season. You're really coming into your own, and I think we saw you a little bit on the ball again tonight. Feels like you've got a couple of weapons to your arsenal. How did you see Zach Butters' game tonight? So 30 touches for him. There was a lot of talk, obviously, that the Bulldogs are interested in him. He's out of contract. How did it play out on field? Were there any little cheeky barbs amongst the midfielders, or did it just play out as business as usual?
Business as usual, I think. Knowing Zach, he doesn't really too much into that outside stuff, and he's just focused on his footy, and he loves it, and he plays on the edge, and you saw that tonight, and most weeks he's getting tagged and he's still getting 30, so we give him the ball and he's going to make good decisions, and if we can help him out along the way when he's getting those tags and bring him into the game, that's going to be good for us.
The tricky one that we were talking about right before the interview, you might have caught the back end, was his bump on Joel Frazier. Were you near the vicinity when that occurred?
Yeah, I was in the far side wing and I saw it, but it was a bit too fast, the play, so I didn't really get to see it, properly. I'm not too sure if the hit was, as bad as it looked, but like I said, he plays on the edge, and he likes to hit bodies and hit contests hard. So there's bound to be some, times where he might, push the boundary, but he plays fair, and we back him in.
You have a tough month coming to an end up with Gold Coast in Darwin. You had Hawthorn, Geelong Crows, Western Bulldogs. Now you go up there. They play so well up in Darwin. I'm assuming you'll get up there early and do things a little bit different. You looking forward to that?
Yeah, 100%. Most of my family's from Darwin, so it'll be good to get up there. We go up on the Tuesday, I think, so adjust to the climate up there. A lot of the boys probably haven't played footy there before, so it's going to be sweaty. It's going to be pretty muggy up there. So I'm sure we'll get a couple of training sessions in and get used to it. But Gold Coast are going to be hard to beat up there.
Enjoy the trip, Jason. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us. It's been a really impressive month, so hopefully you can hold your head high.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Jace Burgoyne downstairs in the Port Adelaide rooms after their 2-point loss to the Dogs. As Vicky kind of said it's been 3 points, 2 points, 1 point, 2 points. They're getting close, Port Adelaide, and Jace Burgoyne is certainly a star of that in how he is performing and really starting to flourish for the footy club. You slowed it down, Tom, and had a look really at the zoomed-in pinpoint to see exactly where the point of Butters' shoulder made contact, and you're still pretty firm that it's not going to be high.
My view is he hasn't even got him high. That's how I view it. We're looking on phones, so they're not the biggest screens, but trying to zoom it up, it feels like to me he's got him on the sternum, maybe slightly under his neck there. So, you can look at it. I know that they're trying to stamp out that action in the game. I know we slow down things to, frame by frame, and if he does go to a tribunal, there'll be intent, and they'll ask him what he was thinking when his left foot hit the ground and then when his body raised, and why didn't you go for the ball and all that sort of thing. Like, to me, I thought it was a fair bump. You saw him turn around a bit surprised. If he's got him slightly high, it's a free kick, but nothing more than that. I don't see any head contact. But
do we want to go around the room and verdicts? Josh? Guilty, not guilty?
The only thing I would say, maybe if there's a bit of whiplash and his chin hits his shoulder, that's where he's potentially. It doesn't look like it's flush with his shoulder. With his chin, because I think if he had him flush, he would have knocked him out. Yeah.
I mean,
so
Port Adelaide
guilty, don't know.
Have had a pretty good run with tribunals lately, right? So they've probably got a fair few tickets to cash in if they needed to get him off.
I've stayed pretty quiet, which I think you've made a point of. I think I'm clouded with this because I've watched Butters have 4 pre-seasons and do this to his teammates, to be fair. This is how he trains, this is how he plays, and I do think he's pretty lucky in the sense that Frazier got straight back up.
Yep.
It is borderline, I agree with you, Tom. I think if he's nudged the chin, maybe, but Frazier gets straight back up and plays a key role in the rest of the game. I do think it's a reckless action. I've watched him do it far too many times, and I don't think he gets suspended off that one tonight, to be fair. And potentially with a different outcome, if Frazier doesn't get back up, it's probably a different story. But I do also think I'm quite clouded because I've seen him do it that many times, it's not funny.
But you feel like he's walking a tightrope, that at some point it's going to go wrong if he keeps doing it.
There's no doubt it's a tightrope, and also, if I was still playing, I would not want to be on the end of that.
Fair enough.
You know, I'd say about it too is that I don't think he should get suspended for something like that. But again, from a tribunal point of view, and I think the thing that potentially hurts him is that potential to cause injury. Yeah. That clause in there, you can interpret that however you want, but you know, in terms of that contact and the optics of it,
it's reckless because he makes such an early decision that to me goes, okay, he's decided Fraser's going to win possession rather than tap it on like he does, and so he's going to absolutely nail him if Fraser takes possession of the ball. And the issue here is that Fraser doesn't take possession of the ball, and he's just about ironed him out.
But that's my frustration, is that there are times when, again, it's a split-second game that's going so fast, but there are often times where players could tackle or push. If you know Fraser's in the air waiting for the ball to come down, you don't charge in shoulder first. And that's kind of what I'm worried about. And then, not to get on the soapbox and extrapolate it too much, but players aren't protected anymore by insurance for concussion. So like these sort of instances, we have to be a little bit more cautious about moving forward, because if Joel Fraser doesn't get up, what happens to him long term, because he's no longer protected by the league's insurance company. So there's a lot to kind of work through for that, but I think I've been outnumbered 3-1, so he probably gets off.
I'm sitting on the fence.
I think you make a fair point. I just think in the system and the way that it is now, I don't think he gets suspended. Then it becomes a question, to your point, of like, do the rules change because of the lack of insurance?
And this is the classic impact over action, which is the way that it's currently adjudicated. You'd say he gets off because he hasn't hurt him, and he probably hasn't got him by the definition high, so he probably is okay. But one more millimetre, we might be having a different story.
I can just, from a personal level, and for all of us, I don't think we can do another week of Zach Butters going through tribunals and appeals. Like, please, can we just sort this out?
How many presses does that become in your week, Tom?
It's just the endless, what's changing, what's this, what's he been offered, how is this going to go? Oh, Jason Johnson's in his car, he's driving off. The Port lawyer's got his dog barking in the background. I mean, that's what we had last time. So, maybe if it does get sent that way, it might be a bit more of a process. But, Port Adelaide has spent a lot of time off-field talking about Zach Butters, that's for sure, this season.
Well, they say any publicity is good publicity. The AFL might be having another week of headlines the way that it's going, but there's still a whole weekend to play out. Plenty of games coming your way. We'll run through them in a moment's time. Just unpacking the Western Bulldogs' 2-point victory over the Power. So they got the job done 10-14-74 to 10-12-72 rather. Just the last one to wrap it up. Bulldogs would have squeezed into the top 10 tonight. Long season ahead, but can they recover from where they were? So to be premiership favourites, 4-game losing skid. Now they've got to win back on the board. Can they push anywhere near the top 4, let alone finals footy? Are you kind of convinced that maybe they've steered the ship, Loz?
Josh just triggered a memory for me pre-game when he reminded me of what we were speaking about when Port lost to St Kilda here a few weeks ago, and we thought Port were cooked and everything was as it was. And I just think injuries to different teams, like we've seen Hawthorn report a number of injuries off the back of last night, and things change so fast. I love the Doggies' heart. I like their list, the way they've been able to make up for the guys they're missing. Without Sam Darcy makes it really challenging.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, without Darcy, I don't think they can. He's just such that X factor ahead of the ball. Now it's all relying on Norton. Lewis was okay today, but can he keep replicating that, and can he play to a level that warrants the Western Bulldogs, challenging for the top 4? I'm not sure.
Votes, 3-2-1.
I might need some help with 2.
I'm battling as well.
I've given Bontempelli, I thought he was outstanding. I gave him 3 votes. I've actually given Zach Butters 1 vote.
Okay.
And I was tossing up Sanders. I thought Sanders' game was pretty good.
Bailey Dale.
I thought Dale's game was good as well. I think Bontempelli was clearly best in my eyes, and his numbers support that. 10 tackles, 7 clearances. He had a huge game.
What did you have, Loz?
Oh, I had Bont 3, a gap at 2, and I thought Georgiades 4 goals 4 was a huge influence for Port Adelaide. But then, let's go Sanders, hey? He's probably someone who usually misses out on votes.
So 3 to Bont, 2 to Sanders, 1 to
Butters.
That didn't sound convincing.
I'm happy with Georgiades as well.
Butters.
All right, done.
I was going to say, Georgiades, how many shots on goal is he averaging a game?
It's wild.
I was almost going to make this stupid comment that he's one player that could kick 100 goals in a season with the number of shots he gets.
So he's had,
imagine if they had
8 shots
60 inside 50s.
He's kicked 25-22 across
There
the
you go.
season. That includes his 4-4 tonight. So
Yeah.
it's
47, that is.
He
in
should be
9
leading the
games.
Coleman.
So
He's got
over 5 a game.
And imagine if Port were up around 60 inside 50s.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he was the
he's
number one
stuck.
targeted player last year.
Yeah.
And he's so effective there. And just for 12 touches, I mean, we feel like we didn't call his name much, but then as soon as it gets in there, he's marking it,
Yeah.
or he's having an impact, and 8 shots on goal. So, phenomenal player. And I did remember your comment during the game, you know, he's going to have a big asking price at the end of next year.
Definitely.
The other game, Lions winners by 11 over Carlton, so they've now won 6 of their last 7, Brisbane. Carlton still with 1 win, percentage good enough to surpass Essendon and Richmond, but Brisbane are right in the thick of things, so early into round 9, but they're in the top 4 right now. And feels like they haven't really hit their straps, whilst they've got a few injuries to come back from as well. So, albeit they nearly let it slip late, they were pretty dominant for the first half, and feels like Brisbane's going to be there again.
Brisbane,
Yeah.
amazing. Like it's hard to see which teams get near them, particularly if they win home. If they get home finals at the Gabba, that's an absolute fortress there for them.
They like being in this spot, just around the cusp of the 4, right before the mid-season, and they really let it fly. So we'll see where they end up. And yeah, for the Blues, Michael Voss again continued to stress that they cannot accept mediocrity. But another loss for them, a bit more competitive by the sounds of things than in the past. But yeah, they're just stuck in a hole right now, the Blues.
What happens with Voss? Is he contracted next year?
No,
he's not
contracted until the end of this year. So seems like they might just let it die a slow death by the looks of it. They're having parts in games where they're able to compete. Interesting list profile, I would say, about Carlton. They recruited players like Will Hayward, who I really like, Ollie Florent, but they are at the back end, sort of mid to late 20s. You've got a lot of players like that they're playing, sort of seem a bit reluctant to play young guys, except Jagger Smith. I mean, young lad, Ashton Moyes, an SA boy, in, out, in, out, in, out. Now, we don't know the inner workings, what's going on at trainings and things like that, but wouldn't you, at 1 and 8, wouldn't you sit there and say, all right, guys, let's try and think about the future and get some games into our young players that we've gone to the draft with, and get them in when it's a line ball call? I mean, you two have been in coaching roles, and Lauren, you started, the development of a club, at the start when it was created, and I'm sure you certainly had some senior players there, but it was really about getting games into the young girls.
Oh, there's absolutely no doubt, and it's really challenging when you're the senior coach and you have to make decisions like that, and it doesn't always make sense, particularly to the senior players. And then it becomes this balance of your senior coach who is saying we can't accept mediocrity, and it's like, well, how many young players can you play at the same time, and which positions are they in? And that becomes the challenge. And we've seen, I guess, a victim of it is George Hewitt. Good footballer, right, and not getting a game. And yeah, look, what I will say is it's very challenging. I worked under Chris Davies. He's now Vossi's boss, and I would expect some very plain conversations to be had and some very clear expectations around how many young players are getting a game right now.
Well, the one player they couldn't afford to lose was Curnow.
Yeah.
And he walks out the door.
Yeah.
Harry Mackay's up against it. And poor old CD, he comes from a succession plan storm in South Australia. It's into a Carlton fire. So the other thing to point out of that game, so Blues lost centre clearances by 7. George Hewitt on return after, I guess, everyone in the footy community was saying, play him. He's banging the door down in the 2s. And Voss hadn't been using him because when he's part of the centre mix, they look too slow. He got the third most CBAs behind Cripps and Walsh, and they lost the centre clearance count by 7. So
To Brisbane,
yes.
Brisbane, yeah.
20 touches for Hewitt on the night. So I don't know if it probably wasn't the fix that they were hoping it would be, but he wasn't terrible. Looking at the stats, we didn't watch the game. We were calling this one, but it wasn't the fix I think they were after.
It's very hard. I mean, he's the best and fairest.
What do you do?
It feels a weird one to pull the trigger on. I just, I think it's one of those fallacies, isn't it? They call it a gambler's fallacy where you can't go wrong. You just keep backing the winner and you're just in confidence. And then you start losing and then you can't find one. It just feels like Carlton are in that fallacy at the moment. Yeah. And, you're trying to have all that and you've got to have selection integrity, and they would have had their reasons for it. I can understand in a way why they did it, but they still haven't won since then. And it is a big selection statement, but it hasn't jolted the team because they haven't been able to find a result.
That'll about do us for tonight, but plenty of fallout tomorrow. So 10 a.m. West Australian time, Sports Talk. You'll get the fallout of Fremantle's win last night. So Justin Longmuir is going to join the crew. We might get the inside scoop on what the actual timeline is for Alex Pearce's MCL. So 10 a.m. out west, 10:30 in South Australia for SA Grandstand. We'll have all the reaction from Port Adelaide after another close loss, and 12 Eastern for AFL Saturday. I'm sure they'll unpack the Blues within an inch of its life. Corbin Middlemass to lead the crew there from 12 Eastern. Our VFL game tomorrow, which you can see on ABC iView around the country, is Collingwood and Geelong at Victoria Park from midday. North Melbourne and Sydney to kickstart our AFL action at the Docklands from 1. The Giants and Essendon at the Showgrounds from 4 Eastern, and then our doubleheader overlapping Saturday night games. So Gold Coast and St Kilda in Darwin from 7. And Scott Pendlebury equals Boomer Harvey's record at 432 against the Cats at the MCG, 7:20 Eastern Standard Time. Best there is, best there was, best there ever will be, Josh. Scott Pendlebury?
Yep.
Yeah. Loz?
Oh, you can't argue with it. What a star.
In terms of longevity.
Yeah. How do you feel about him wearing the gold in what will be the record-breaking game? The gold number.
I don't know. What do you reckon?
I could have
Is that what he's doing?
I could have answered that for Josh. Just knowing you long enough now that you wouldn't be a fan of that.
Is he wearing a gold number?
Yeah, on the back of his Guernsey.
Not for his playing Guernsey.
That was a hospital handball right at the end.
Yeah, that was.
Huge thanks to Josh Franco, to Lauren Arnell, Tom Wilson for his action as well,
Fella's
Simon Rosartek, Vicky Schwartz back in the rooms as well. Western Bulldogs winners by 2, 10-14-74 to 10-12-72. So the Dogs back on track, 5-4. Port Adelaide, another heartbreaking loss, 3-6. We'll wrap it all up for you tomorrow. Sports Talk out west from 10. SA Grandstand in South Australia from 10:30. And AFL Saturday at midday Eastern. We'll see you then on ABC Sport.